Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
Oh, sorry, having difficulty.
It's Clobberin time!
Damn it.
Clobberonimo!
Freaking mess that was. My board is all screwed up. God damn it. Oh, welcome, everybody. Welcome, friends. Of course, tonight I have a very special guest with us tonight. First off, I want to welcome him, the great Andy Masterson, the maker of things and stuff and figures and things. What's up, buddy?
How are you, Clobby? Thanks so much for having me.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to this.
I'm so glad to have you here, man. I've always wanted a chance to just talk to you about, like, because I know you always get asked about the figures, and we'll definitely talk about all that, of course. But you probably don't get to talk just comics, and I know you like comics. And,
I
so
love
we do a little bit of that.
Yeah, comics were my first love. That was I started collecting back in 1976. My dad would take us over to the farmers market, and we would pick up. They would have the half cover issues for $11 for $1. So he would take me and my brother Ed over, and like he would spend $5, and he would keep us quiet for a couple weeks.
1976 was a huge year for me for comics, man. I loved it. And let's see, tomorrow, a bit of a show note, everybody. Tomorrow night, the Clubhouse with Raquel, of course, as always. Now, our buddy Mark D with a C, he might pop in later and visit with us, but he won't be here tomorrow night because he's going to be on an away mission. Damn him. And then Friday night on Nick's comic shop show, I'll join Nick and the gang there. We'll be reviewing 5 comics, man. 5 whole comics, sort of Halloween related, some Marvel issues. Because I've been doing that this month, reading a lot of different Marvel books that had Marvel monsters in them and stuff, combining superheroes with monsters. Because I'm not a big Halloween fan that much, but I do like some of the Marvel monster books and stuff. So we will be reviewing Tomb of Dracula #1. A couple of like a Werewolf by Night issue, number 12, I believe it was, and a couple of Marvel team ups and stuff. So it should be lots of fun, everybody. And just some shout outs here. The great J Man is in the chat. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Lemon pie. Damn, now I want a lemon pie. Lemon pie every time you pop in. How does that work? Brian Hepburn, hello, my friend. And Gwagnar, I can't say it like Raquel can, but sorry about that. I do believe the great Vindicator is here. The great Ridge of the North, Chris Persia. Good to see you there, bro. I hope you are doing well. And I know D. Bud Martin's here, the Wrench of Iron, with his Tuska Iron Man is here. So good to see you there. Is Eric? I don't know if Eric's here or not, but Eric K. I don't know if Eric K. There he is. He's right there. I'm sorry, Eric. I couldn't see. I was head on the other screen there. The great Eric K. The golden, the bronze. He's golden too because he's a man of gold. He is the bronze wrencher, Eric K. Good to see you there, brother. Always appreciate you, fantastic wrenchers, being here. Who else is with us here? Really quick. Oh, damn it. It's Frank and Jeebus, aka Monkey Jeebus, but I think this is he's Frank and Jesus tonight, Jeebus tonight for Halloween. Captain Infinity and Beyond is here. Apollome's Minion and the Pepperoni. Hello there, dear. I hope you were doing well and being safe out there on the road, both hands on the wheel. There's Eric K. with a $2 super chat. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. He says, I'm always here, Clobby. Yes, you are, sir. You are always here with the power cosmic of the bronze wrench. Classic Comics. What's up, buddy? I was just enjoyed hanging out with you on Loki's at roundtable, comic roundtable tonight. And again, shout out to the great Loki and 24, because it's always a fun time over there on Wednesday nights. I don't think we'll have one next Wednesday night, though, because I think he's going to be, I don't think he's going to be, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I might, maybe I'm not, I'll be busy. One of us is going to be busy. Maybe it's not him. We talked a little bit earlier, Andy, on the comic roundtable about the new movie, Black Adam. I'm sure you're familiar with it, even if it's not something I wouldn't guess you would be looking forward to it too much. I know I'm not. I have no interest in it really, but it looks like that's coming out tomorrow. And I'm predicting, and I want to see what you think about this, a big bomb for DC. What do you think on that one?
I've heard the early reviews, and it's not great. Part of me wishes they would get, I'd like to see Cavill back as Superman. I'm not a fan of the Snyder take on Superman. The Christopher Reeve. I mean, I grew up watching George Reeves as Superman on TV. And then when Christopher Reeve came along, and we were all into championship wrestling and stuff, and watching all the really big guys. And Christopher Reeve was kind of thin. I was like, yeah, he's not really. But that movie was just so good, and he really captured. I give props to Donner for being like the creative force behind that to really set the tone, and that it's such a high bar. I don't think you're going to get anybody else that's really going to top it. But I like the way Cavill. He's got he's just got something about him where he just seems likable. He just comes across as likable, and I think that's a really good thing for Superman. Now the Black Adam,
in fact,
Adam thing, I don't know. Didn't really follow too much about him. A friend of mine who's a huge Black Adam fan. We were talking about it the other day, and he's like, "Well, it's probably not going to be anything like the comic book version, but I'm hoping that it gives them a shot in the arm to say, like, hey, you know what? Maybe this. One thing I will say that Snyder did right, his casting, for the most part, was pretty good.
This is the guy that casted Ezra Miller too.
Yeah, I know, but like Ben Affleck
and Jesse Eisenberg. So just saying.
Yeah. Ben Affleck is Batman, though. He looks like Batman. He looks like Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne should be a big, imposing guy. He should be, he's tough. He's somebody that like you could see. Like that was the problem I had with Michael Keaton. He's a small guy. Yep. I can't see him like really slugging it out with, big, powerful. If Michael Keaton got tossed around by Bane, he wouldn't have a broken back. He'd be dead. So I thought Ben Affleck had the potential to be a fabulous Batman. Gal Gadot, like as Wonder Woman, I had my doubts, but she was enjoyable watching it. Like, I probably would have went with somebody who was a little bit more athletic and muscular, but she did did the part pretty well. She was, I mean, Jesus, it's bad that like the best thing you can say is like, hey, well, she was definitely not like one of these whiny Karens. She was really like heroic and brave and stuff like that. Like, like the character should be. And Superman, I'm not a fan of Momoa as Aquaman.
Yeah, man.
Because, well, I mean, I remember the old Aquaman TV show where they're riding the seahorses and stuff, the cartoon. But I can see why, the ladies certainly like it and stuff. But those casting points I thought were really good. Now, again, Jesse Eisenberg, Ezra Miller, that's crap. I wonder if he was kind of pressured into, here, take this Ezra Miller kid and find him a job somewhere.
No, Snyder's a genuine moron and idiot, so he is that stupid. Sorry.
Okay.
The guy's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that much about him. I mean, I saw 300. I think he does a good job at adapting Frank Miller, but Frank Miller's like I like Frank Miller in certain venues, like, but
right.
Then he goes too far. He's like, he gets too nihilistic. He gets too negative and it becomes a point where it's just like, do I want to read another Daredevil comic book or shoot myself? It's like, I want to see the guys get a win sometime.
I have a lot of issues with some of later Miller, but I do love his Daredevil stuff. But he went crazy. But no, see, on the Snyder thing, look, of course, it's well known that I hate Snyder. I hate his Man of Steel. I hate just about every single thing he's done. But I don't disagree with you on his casting, even of Affleck. I think Henry Cavill's terrific. I think it's probably as big a tragedy as was ever seen as far as superhero films are concerned, that a guy's such a good casting choice, and I do give even Snyder credit for that, to never have a chance to play the character he's cast as, because he never plays Superman. He's Mopey Man in Man of Steel, in Bitch versus Shit. He's Bull versus Shit, as I often call it as well. He's Mopey Man in that, and he's and there. Yes, so to be fair, he just never got a shot to play the character the way he should be. I don't think it's ever gonna, to be honest. I just don't see it. So
Brandon Routh, I think Brandon Routh could have done a good job but I mean,
movie, but
yeah, I don't like Bryan Singer's stuff. Like, I mean, I didn't like his
Bryan
X-Men
Singer
because it was Wolverine and his Amazing Friends.
Yeah, it was good old Uncle Wolverine. Yeah, Bryan Singer's garbage and his movies are garbage. So yeah, that's turned out that way. And so, but yeah, Cavill, look, hey, I mean, given a chance, with some good writers in the right costume, I would never have a problem with that. So
yeah.
And this movie looks pretty Snydery. I've watched a couple. I think I watched Chris Gore today. He didn't see it yet, but his buddy Andy saw it, and he was this guy's pretty easy going. I don't know if you ever see the Film Threat guys, but pretty easy going dude. And he was not allowed to spoiler it, but he gave it like a spoiler free review, and he was just sort of like, yeah, it was okay. It was just sort of, they was like basically giving it like a C and just trying to be nice and just kind of thing. Yeah, it's and
how much do you think of that is like that it got chopped up so much so it didn't get an R rating?
I don't know. They were never going to give that a character like that an R probably, but I don't know how much of that, because again, I haven't even seen it. I might agree with him if I saw it, or I might not. I don't know, because I would still try to be fair to it. But personally, Black Adam, to me, the character, to me, is a Captain Marvel villain. Yes, I mean real Captain Marvel, the one who says Shazam, you shitheads at Marvel and DC. Anyway, he's a villain. And then later they took him into, like in the 90s and in the 2000s, they tried to start making him this sort of anti-hero type, putting him with the JSA. And he was, that was at some point in the 2000s or whatever, where fans just started saying, he needs to have a movie. He needs to have a movie. And The Rock has to play him. The Rock has to play him. And that was going on on internet and on fan circles for years. And somehow The Rock got wind of it, a good while back, maybe 10, 15 years ago or something. Because I remember people saying that so long ago, when I was just like, who cares about a Black Adam movie? Who wants that? What? When people would say that to me, like, man, it would be so cool. The Rock in a Black Adam movie. I'd be like, a Black Adam movie? What do you want that for? He's a villain. I don't care if he's so cool. He's not cool. He's a dick. He's not a superhero. Screw him. He's an anti-hero at best. The way they've changed him, he used to be just a plain-up, straight-up villain when he was created. So who cares? Why do you want to see that? But no, whatever you guys want, it's fine. But doesn't interest me. And somehow that got to him. And because he said, I saw an interview of him recently where he says, Superman used to be my favorite superhero, and then I discovered Black Adam. He probably heard all that cacophony throughout pop culture of a few loud people saying stuff like, yeah, man, Snyder's so cool. I hope he puts Black Adam in a movie and lets The Rock play him. And that got to him somehow. And he was like, yeah, man, I should play Black Adam. Because he's a dork. I don't want to go into things I think about The Rock. So hello, Ironhide. But so that's how that all got going. I just don't care about the character. I mean, if the movie's okay, if I watched it and thought it was all right, I'm not sure I will. I'm not going to the theater. I think I'm just going to say no.
You know what's funny is if they have the model there, if they would just follow the comic book stories, people would like because I mean that's really a successful comic book movie is pretty much a faithful adaptation of the comic book. If you look at Marvel in their initial runs, their characterization of those characters was right out of the comic book. They changed the stories up a little bit to modernize them. You went from Vietnam to Iraq or Afghanistan. You did Captain America, some minor changes there with all right, I understand why you had to give Red Skull the super soldier serum and stuff like that. But I thought they did a great job, but they kept the characters as they were. Thor got sent to Earth because he was arrogant and cocky and just out of the comic book. And when they started to go downhill is when they started to deviate from those characterizations, those classic characterizations. And I thought, wow, this would be all DC has to do is kind of copy that same idea that Marvel was doing in the beginning. And then what happened? Marvel copied what DC was doing wrong. And let all the executives and the bankers make the decisions, and you chase away the creatives, and you put all these restrictions on what they can do and everything like that because you want to consume next product. And now we're in the crap pile. And I'm happy that I got 2 really good Captain America movies and 1 pretty good Captain America movie. First Avengers I liked, except for the ending with was the Phantom Menace ending where everybody the bad guys just die. But I liked it. It was great watching all of them on screen for the first time. I think that it was a mistake to do Thor as aliens. They should have just and now it's come full circle, and now we can have gods. So they should have just left it with that. And Thor could have been great. But now I think it's going to have to burn down before they can actually do something good again.
Yeah,
I did like Werewolf by Night. We were talking.
I did too.
Deviated a lot. I mean, it kind of irritated me. They made a big deal of him wearing all the face stuff to honor his ancestors and stuff like that. Well, so you're saying his ancestry is important if he's Mexican, but not that he's Transylvanian, which is a whole backstory.
Right? Yeah.
So
hey, Cam, good to see you. I enjoyed it though. I'm with you. Just the fact that I could sit there and not get. I mean, first of all, yeah, I had kind of a qualm with sort of what they did with Man Thing, but I don't mind it too much. It was different, but it was entertaining different. If you can be different and entertaining different, I'll go ahead. It's a TV show, it's a movies. He looked great, by the way. I thought he looked great.
Yeah,
and I loved it. The whole tone of the thing. I didn't have too many issues with it, and the fact that I was watching something on a Disney Plus production, which I hate. I watched every single one of them. I didn't watch Miss Marvel because I didn't care about the character, and I watched all the way halfway through What If and just couldn't stomach it. It was so bad. But I've tortured myself with every other show they've done and hated every single one of them. So I was thinking, let me watch this crap. I'll probably hate it too. And had a decent time watching it and enjoyed it and found it to be mostly very entertaining. That's rare. Hello there, Oliver Belamonte. Welcome, my friend. So that was a shock to me right there. And one of the things I was not too familiar. I think what kind of caught me was the very beginning when they mentioned Ulysses Bloodstone. I was like, wow, that's so obscure. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And when they had his daughter, Ilsa, I don't know why they had to make her look like Jessica Jones. I swear to you, I thought that was Jessica Jones when they first showed her, because she doesn't look like that in the comics.
Yeah,
And
she's
I saw
blonde
that.
and
Yeah, she's blonde. Hey, she's like a Lara Croft type thing. Hello there, Darius. By the way, that woman's lovely. Don't get me wrong, but I see her as when I first saw. I'm kidding because it's black and I'm going, what's Jessica Jones doing here? For like a couple of minutes, I'm like, what's she? And when she finally found out, we found out she wasn't. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. But even she wasn't a bad character in it, and she was fine. And she was a little trying to be a little tough bitch type, but that's okay. I mean, she wasn't invulnerable or anything like that. So, when she was a decent character, they changed Jack. They don't call him Jack Russell, but his ethnicity. But what else is new about that? But on the whole, I found that entertaining, and I'm surprised that I did. That they just somehow someone got in there and just said, "How about if I just make something that's kind of fun to watch that nobody really has to get angry about, and no one has to get offended. We don't have to attack anybody. We just make something entertaining. Is that okay? Can we do that? How about that, boss?"
That's the problem I have now, though, is that once they see something is successful, they're like the parasites turn and look at it and they go and devour it. I'm terrified that's what's going to happen to this. It's like, ooh, how can we twist this to get our message across? I like that. She was powerful, but she didn't overshadow the Jack Russell character. She wasn't like the bestest ever. She was, she was believable. Yes, I did catch that she did the whole Black Widow leg takedown thing that they have every female character do. Like,
of course,
I see this shit, and all I can think of is Anakin and Phantom Menace saying, "Hey, let's try spinning. That's a good trick." They just here's where we got. It's like the Wilhelm scream. It's like, here's where we got to plug it in. But I did like that. The way they did everything, it was nice and retro. I got a feel for it. Like a few years back, I watched Penny Dreadful, the first season. That I really liked. Mm-hmm. It's kind of had that like classic horror feel to it. I have every faith in the world that they'll screw it up when they do this. Although I'm hoping that somebody at Disney and Marvel has like an ounce of a brain cell left, and they see that, hey, you know what we have to do? We just had to trash the Blade script and the Blade director, and our star's about to walk because we have no idea what the hell to do. But we just made a successful, hour-long monster movie. Let's let this guy do it, and maybe we'll get some quality out of it. But
Ezra Goldstein, and this guy was he always just does soundtracks. He's a music guy, and he directed this thing. I saw his name. I'm like, is that the same dude that does all the? I guess it is. Weird, huh? And he did the music as well. But I was like, well, let that guy do another one. Let him do the sequel. And again, you know what? That's kind of a nice idea. Have a Halloween special every year. Make the next one about a couple of the other Marvel monsters. You can bring back, Ted and Jack and Elsa, but have Dracula. Maybe have let's see, have their version, because there's a Marvel version of the Frankenstein monster, the Living Mummy. There's Ghost Rider. There's you can do all kind of stuff. You can do like the Legion of Monsters, like they used to do and stuff. Yeah. How about do that next? The creatures on, just have it. But how about make it without any kind of agenda and just make it fun? I mean, I think doesn't James Gunn have a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special coming up? I know they won't call it Christmas, but
I've always loved Marvel's supernatural side. I thought it was a lot of fun. And Ghost Rider, I mean, I would love to see a real Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. I enjoyed the Nicolas Cage stuff. I know that they're not great, but I liked watching. Nicolas Cage. He's like, he's a little too old for the character. He's a little too. So but I mean, that second one, he was kicking ass in it. That was good to see. I mean, it's funny because my brother was a huge Thor fan. And the thing that bugged me was it was a shame because he didn't live to see, it's good and bad, he didn't live to see Ragnarok, because in Ragnarok he was portrayed as powerful as he should have been, but the character wasn't him. He was jokey Thor. He was, yeah, exactly. But you at least got to see in Infinity War, when the Russos were handling, you got to see him unleash and be Thor.
That was great.
That was great.
Oh, it was incredible. Yeah.
And that was the way should have envisioned, or that's like why I never got a Hot Toys Thor figure, because he didn't really come across. And then by the time they were doing him kind of like that, it was like they changed his look so he didn't look like classic Thor. So maybe at some point I'll get one. I don't know. There's probably going to be a fifth one coming out at some point.
As much as I've liked some of the movies, to me, whenever I'm able to force myself to break my action figure moratorium that I've put upon myself for the past like decade or two, because no room for them, they're too expensive anyway, and it's a rabbit hole. When I did go down that rabbit hole, I couldn't stop. Once in a while, one comes out I have to have, right? And the movie ones I never want. I want comic book ones, even if I like the movie. I always want the ones that are comic accurate. Like they got there's actually a pretty good Thor one out that I've been resisting, that it's at Target recently. JD Lewis, what's up, buddy? But that's a pretty good one. So, but yeah, I just always prefer that. But about these movies, I gotta say, for a while there, maybe for about at least 10 years, it was kind of fun to the MCU. Not that every movie was great.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of a fun time when every year, we got a couple of MCU movies coming out. I'm looking forward to go and see those. Maybe they'll be good, maybe they won't, but we don't have to worry about what we have to worry about now. We just got this, whether the movie would be any good or not. And that was kind of a fun ride. It's a shame they've ruined it.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that it's pretty much impossible. I have a tragedy coming up because in a couple, was it in November, Wakanda Forever is coming out. Well, I have a very dear friend of mine who we've gone to see the Marvel movies together since about 2010 or whatever. Since Iron Man 2, Electric Boogaloo or whatever. But we've been going to see them all together, and I get even these bad ones that have been coming out now, and it's just kind of we make a day of it. He can't really, because of health issues, it's not that good for him to go on his own and stuff. And I just thought we could make a day of it. Anything, I'll go pick him up. And I was just like, he doesn't want to he's not going to make me go see Black Adam. But I asked him, I said, so you don't want to go see Black Panther, do you? But he does. I'm like, oh God, if you hear me, buddy, I'm going to do it. But man, I don't freaking want to do it. Man, Love and Thunder was bad enough. Dude, I've suffered enough. But I said, all right, dude, we're going to suffer. 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's not even short.
Yeah,
bad.
To watch, Wakanda got her groove back. Yeah.
Yes, it's gonna and it's not even gonna ruin. I think you muted, bro.
Oh, it's just my daughter's getting me a cup of tea for me.
Oh, gotcha. It's not even just the ruination of Namor.
Yeah, like it. Well, I mean,
also going to have some other garbage in there.
I think they made a mistake not recasting. I
True.
get it. Yeah, everybody loved Chadwick Boseman, but look,
it's good, but yeah,
we've had how many? If you say that, you would never have another Superman. At some point, like you have to move on with it, and it's just the way it is. But I really liked him in Civil War. I thought he did a great job in Civil War. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't thrilled with the. They pissed me off when they took away his super intelligence and gave it to
the Black
his sister.
Panther movie, dude. That was so bad.
Yeah, and everybody. I mean, it's sacrilege if you say, because how can you say that? Like, it's the best thing since sliced bread. But it should have been 2 movies. You should have had Claw as the bad guy.
Claw should be the bad guy, and no Killmonger. At least not that Killmonger.
Yeah. But again,
no Oakland. How about don't ruin T'Chaka either? Dude. You realize because T'Chaka was pretty honorable and a good man, that his death meant something in Civil War. Mm-hmm. Now in this movie defamed T'Chaka and made him a horrible person. Yeah, and
that's the thing, because you can't. When all this stuff goes full circle, because they have to put some kind of messaging in. When it comes full circle, it ends up making them look bad, because now what you've done is you and I lived through the 80s with all of the thanks honey, We Are the World and all that, and Live Aid and stuff like that, and donating all that money to Africa because of the starving Ethiopians. Hey, Wakanda could have did something about that, but nah.
Nah.
But yet
Screw
they're
'em.
supposed to be like, aren't they wonderful? Well, no, they're not, because they let everybody suffer around them and they could have helped them. So you put yourself into that conundrum.
Well, they also contradicted something. If you're there, Dave, good to see. Remember something in Civil War when they were in Lagos and the big fight at the beginning, where there were Wakandans there that were helping people. So the movie comes back and acts like that didn't. Remember, they were there. There were the people that got killed in the explosion at the beginning of the film, where they're saying with Black Panther, the movie comes along and they act like they're completely isolated and they don't participate in the world. Well, which is it? Oops.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler, you dumbass. I hate that movie because I love the character of T'Challa. I thought he's one of the smartest guys in the Marvel Universe. But in this, they had to, because Kevin Feige is a moron, they had to make his stupid sister, who no one gives a shit about, she's the smart one. And of course, the Dora Milaje, we got to make the movie about them as well. And you waste. What a waste of Ulysses Claw.
Yeah.
What a waste of Claw. Who could have been, here's my thing about that movie. Easily solved. You don't do that with Shuri. You make it about, maybe you could have the Killmonger character and Claw team up like they did. They go to Wakanda. He finds the mountain of vibranium. Claw thinks he kills him, and he ends up like falling onto the vibranium, similar to his origin in the comic. And he becomes the Claw, the master of sound. And then he's using sound constructs to attack, and that becomes your menace. That your villain is using his sound construct power to fight. Imagine how cool that would have been if you'd had Black Panther up against something like that instead of all the social bullshit and all the waste of time in Oakland with the illegitimate kid stuff for T'Chaka and all this horse shit.
And that's all. And now we have an entire mountain of vibranium like that. That cheapens vibranium. It's like it was supposed to be rare. I mean, because you had the two kinds. You had the Antarctic vibranium in the Savage Land, and you had the Wakandan vibranium. But man, but I mean, that's the thing. Like they ruined Claw. They have to, again, you had to have the Marvel thing where like, I'm fighting my exact opposite again. It's like you're fighting somebody with the exact same power set. And Marvel didn't do that all the time. Marvel would you would have Spider-Man fighting, a guy that could fly, and you would, and Captain America was fighting, it wasn't like another super soldier versus Captain America. It wasn't, it was always, you could pair things off differently. And that sound, that was what was cool about Claw, because it was a unique villain. He had all that stuff that he would, the sound thing. And I mean, the one thing that I thought was really cool in what's the second Star Wars prequel, the clone one,
the clones,
and they had that sonic grenade thing.
Yeah.
That was so cool in the theater. They could have did something like that and it would have been epic. But now now there's vibranium everywhere. You got Shuri's the smart one. And once you start giving in a little bit, then there's nobody you can say no to. Now you just have to include all these things in your story. And and look, that the whole Dora Milaje thing, I've been a combat sports fan for a long time, wrestling, martial arts, kickboxing, all this stuff. And you get a woman there, you put her up against even a moderately sized man, she's going to lose. And, sorry, it's just the reality of things. And, but now they kicked the shit out of Bucky, for God's sake. He was the world's preeminent assassin.
So
he could kill them with one arm. And he's super powered because they overpowered the super soldier serum. But I don't know. That'll be
awful.
A thing.
It's awful, man. And again, you want to see the best origin of Black Panther ever. Watch the second season of the Fantastic Four cartoon from the 90s, which was wonderful, very Kirby-esque, a great show. They right out of the comic origin. It was very faithful to it. Cool. It had Keith David doing the voice of Black Panther. He was badass. He was so damn good. Chris Persia says, Here's a question. Will Marvel address the fact that Shuri is responsible for T'Challa's apparent death in the comics? She had him test her experimental spacecraft and didn't check on him for weeks. No, they won't even do that. They won't touch on that at all. They'll probably they're gonna act. I think they'll be somewhat nebulous about it, Chris, in the movie. I'm just speculating. I haven't seen it, but they'll probably act like they think he's dead, but they're not sure. They're leaving it up in the air. Maybe they might leave it up in the air a little bit. They say they think he's dead, then try to leave it open to where maybe he could be recast later, so they could just go on with their movie, and the movie based upon, maybe they'll show some clips and stuff, and the movie will be based upon their so-called story will revolve somewhat around his apparent demise, but we don't know. That's complete speculation on my part. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I heard someone say that, like, a friend of mine heard that they were going to place this around the whole snap, and he's gone. That's why he's gone during this, because he was snapped out.
This is the snap. Takes place in between the snap time. That could be, in Endgame, there's a scene where that makes sense actually, because in Endgame, there's a scene where in the Avengers headquarters where Natasha is talking to people via a hollow communicator or whatever, and the Dora Milaje lady is telling her about some seismic activity from beneath Wakanda, I believe, and it's touched that she barely they have a slight exchange about that. I suppose that would, if it took place in there and he's been missed, okay. I mean, that at least makes sense. That is probably an out for them where they don't have to deal with his death right away. And then later they can recast if anyone's still watching their shitty movies by then. Because I don't think.
Well, I can't forgive what they did to Namor. I mean,
it's awful. It's atrocious, man.
The Invaders was one of my favorite books. I love the Invaders. I love the World War II era Captain America.
Sure.
I mean, my dad fought in the war. It was a bonding thing with us. We would watch war movies and war documentaries together, and watching Namor and the Invaders, and then his solo series. I mean, the John Buscema Namor issues were friggin' stupendous. I mean, that you can't top that. And now they're talking about. Did you hear the other thing they want to do is they want to cast Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto? And I'm like, oh Jesus! Mephisto was modeled after Jack Palance, with the facial structure. He had that, and you're going to put Sacha Baron. What's he going to wear? That friggin' onesie in there and shit.
It'll be a joke.
Exactly.
It'll be like She-Hulk. They'll make a joke of the villain. So it's Clown World now. And that is just ridiculous, man. Well, they can have it. Do whatever you want, guys. You can do it without me. I want to get away from these movies because I want to stop. I mean, Love and Blunder was painful. I take bad, but painful. If you haven't seen it yet,
I haven't watched a Marvel movie. The last Marvel movie I watched was Black Widow, and I pirated it on my computer because I wasn't going to go. And I had no interest in watching Shang-Chi, and I mean I have every issue of Master of Kung Fu, and but I mean it was Master of Kung Fu was a spy thriller, and they turned into this crap and and that as a martial artist when the sister, I saw the clip where she's like, so I just watched what they did and I taught myself how to do it better. Oh, well, why the hell does everybody spend money to actually go to a school?
No, because you got to be a woman, and then you can just go. You can just go watch people do stuff and then do it better because you're the bestest ever. That movie is a piece of absolute trash. I'm glad they didn't at least add the subtitle "Master of Kung Fu." That's something. I guess that's something. But he is also, even in some of the crappier movies, have at least been. We were talking about casting early. MCU has been at least fairly decent at casting. Not this time. He's the. If I were to think about all the movies, good or bad, I think I would pick him as the worst casting of all of these characters in terms of who headline a movie. In fact, if you look at it, let's just think about it. You got headlining the movies. Robert Downey Jr. I think is a great casting. Obviously, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, and other big characters that aren't necessarily headlining. I'm not the big Jeremy. I like Jeremy Renner. He's not really the comic book Hawkeye, but he's good. Scarlett Johansson's good. I'm not a big Ruffalo guy per se, but he's an idiot in real life. But I mean, he's fine as Bruce Banner until they ruin the character. But so everybody's passable to really, really good casting. I mean, Paul Rudd, good. All these characters they've done a pretty good job. And so with some of the villains. And then you come along, this guy, this is the first one to headline a Marvel MCU movie that is absolutely this is probably for me close to Ezra Miller, Jesse Eisenberg level bad casting. He's that pathetic that, look, you could have found any actor that at least gave you some sort of Bruce Lee type vibe. And that's what he should. The Shang-Chi should give you that kind of vibe. I mean, does he have to look exactly like it? Maybe not, but you should look at that guy. Yeah, I can believe that guy being the master of Kung Fu. And this guy, I can't believe it. I can believe, I can believe him being a valet like he was in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, when Mike Zeck drew him, I mean, he got like that, he really watched the Bruce Lee mannerisms, and he saw how he would turn and he would be like boiling under the surface and and just have those expressions and then cut loose with it. As much as I wasn't a huge fan of his art style because I think he drew everybody too muscular. Everybody was very similar in the faces and stuff. But
especially Captain America,
yeah. I liked his work. It was it wasn't distracting like some of the art has been, especially now. I mean, the garbage they put out now, my God,
terrible. But I loved Paul Galassi and Gene Day's Shang-Chi the best. But yeah, Zet, not a big Zet guy, but he was okay on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, but that was the stories. It was a spy thriller. It was it was cat and mouse stuff. You had that whole British intelligence agency. You had the subterfuge and things going on, and they had these people trying to get one step ahead of Fu Manchu, and now you've ruined the Mandarin. I mean, God, the list of characters they've ruined it's just endless now.
I think if I missed any, I don't know, but I had that list from the other night, and that could very well be a short list. But it was a lot of them. I didn't even count how many, but 1, 2, 3. I got about 20-something characters here.
Yeah,
and I believe that they've all been ruined, and I mean where they started out in good in the MCU and were destroyed by the MCU, or even some cases a little bit before it was full on MCU. So yeah, and that's just absolutely, and that means all the big ones too. The only one you can make a case that Iron Man wasn't necessarily ruined, because they just killed him, which is that's ruining him, sort of, but they didn't really. I mean, he was a little unreasonable at times, but he was not ruined. Hello there, Hungry Boy. What's up? They're hungry for a Trullenberg tiramisu. Dude, what do you have to give me a name I can't even? I'm at the where Tiramisu.
Yeah,
Hungry Boy.
That's a coffee dessert.
Okie dokie, man. All right, that's it. I'm sorry, sir, but you have earned my wrath. Hungry Boy, buddy, I'm sorry I have to do this to you.
Agonizer, please.
Yeah.
Flopper, but I love you, man. Good to see you, man. And I had some Comic Relief Crusader. What's up? Hungry Boy, I've got a story going, something that I'm following right now. I'm not going to go into it now. It's about right up your alley. It's about some comic book original art that I'm following that is quite frankly extraordinary, that I might bring up tomorrow night with Raquel. Some shenanigans that went on back in the 60s and stuff that's been dredged up now. It's probably too much of a lightning rod to do on the show, actually, because it could get me in trouble about certain guy who talks like this, who thinks he created everything, but I'm not going to say his name. True believer. But I'll figure out whether it should be. It may not be good fodder for here tonight because it is a lightning rod. I mean, not tonight, but I mean, anytime on the show, maybe never. Because you know something, when you mess with people's Santa Claus, and that's what that guy whose initials are SLR. I'm one of his critics, by the way, Andy. I don't know if you know, I'm a big critic of that guy, but
yeah.
Anyway, I'll send you an article about that, Hungry Boy. So, yeah, comics, though, man. We've been screw the MCU.
Yeah.
It's source material that it's always screwing up. Comics. You are a comics fan. You mentioned the year 1976. It's interesting because that was a big year for me in comics. You want to show us some comics you have there? Or what?
Yeah, there's as I was saying, like before the show started, me and Clobby were talking about this. Was one of my first big Captain America story arcs. So this introduces the Shield super soldiers and
Texas Twister in there.
Yeah, Texas Twister, the Blue Streak, Quasar. Well, back then he was Marvel Man.
Yeah,
and
Marvel Boy, but they changed him to Marvel Man for right there. Huh?
Yeah. Well, what they did was like Marvel Boy was Bob Grayson, and this guy was Wendell Vaughn, and it was like his dad was doing the thing, and he gave him the bracelets and the quantum bands and stuff like that. And I mean, it was so cool. Like it had like here you go, Captain America versus the Constrictor.
Some Sal Buscema goodness.
Yeah, and I mean, I loved his art. He was.
I love Sal. Eldritch Lord Astor, good to see you, my friend. Yeah, I love me some Sal, man. People can say what they want about Sal. I think he was great on Hulk, Rom, Cap. I mean, I was a big fan.
Well,
I love John the most, but I like the Sal.
Oh yeah. I mean, there was John's work on Conan with Ernie Chan inking. Oh my God, that's
goodness!
Like, wow, is Savage Sword of Conan in the black and white. Whew, man,
Alfredo Alcala. Oh,
there you go. There's
love that. Hulk. That's a Bob Layton inked cover.
Yeah, Hulk versus Cap. There was like,
but Hulk punching Cap's shield there.
Yeah,
you showed it.
I mean, that was back when it was like. But then what I loved about this, because then next time you see Quasar show up, it's in Marvel Team Up.
Yes,
and he's got
Project
the whole
Pegasus.
Yeah, and like before that, like it's in really bad shape.
All right, Jay, man, take it easy, buddy.
It's like
you have a good one, man.
The Thing in Captain America, he goes in to
rescue. Right before it,
rescue Wondar, who they have in Project Pegasus, and then you see like this whole thing, and like they introduce that was Marvel at its stuff. They had all these threads. They had all these threads everywhere, and they connected them. It was like, hey, you remember this character from way back when? And like, we're going to take him and we're going to put him in this, and like, and then you saw these things kind of like change and transform, and these characters would come up again later. Like you would see Quasar against Thanos and stuff, and all the cosmic stories. I mean, that was such good stuff back then. The rereadability of that stuff is like, I mean, you can see how chewed up these things are from how many times they're read over and over and over again, and I will never ever part with them. I had a flood one time, and I lost like 2 long boxes, and it was like,
shit.
It was terrible. But
Project
those
Pegasus,
comics
man.
back then, wow.
Project Pegasus, that was one of the first of the like back when every single thing that was not collected into a trade. I still have my original trade of that with the $6.99 cover price and $6.95 cover price, and it had. Other than that, they did a trade of the Miller Claremont Wolverine. They did Demon in a Bottle, but for the most part, you just see a lot of trades that were collected. The Dadman Walkie, good to see you there, brother. And I remember I already loved the regular issues of that Marvel 2-in-1. Byrne did a lot of those. Perez finished it up. I mean, the art was great on those. But to get that trade paperback of that Project Pegasus, that's probably my favorite of that Marvel 2-in-1 run. As a Thing fan, and it was interesting how the Wondar story, he became Aquarian, and that when Wondar started out in the very first few issues of Marvel 2-in-1, Steve Gerber created him, and it was a plot thread running through there that because things kept shaking up in the writers and the editorials at Marvel, they didn't deal with Wondar that much, and then all of a sudden they decided to bring him back and kind of deal with him here. And after this, Wondar becomes Aquarian, and you don't see him around in too many comics after that.
Yeah, and he's pretty powerful. He should have been around in something.
It was sort of like a Superman origin too, because he was rocketed to Earth. But you have
and nobody found him.
Right? Yep, that's right. And you have Quasar. A year or two, or a couple of years earlier, there was they did that. There was a character that called himself the Crusader. It was in a couple of Perez issues of the Fantastic Four, where he had the same outfit. He was a different guy, but he had the Quasar bands, although he was called Crusader. He was based on Marvel Boy, like you were talking about. And the FF fought him, and he was destroyed or something. And then later, at the beginning of that Project Pegasus, the Thing thinks that's him.
Yeah.
And goes after him.
Yeah.
And they fight for a second, like superheroes should always do when they first meet. But it was really cool, man. You had Deathlock in that story. You had Giant Man. Bill Foster had gone from being Black Goliath to Giant Man in that one. He changed in that, and it was really good. That's one of the best of the team up stories, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, and Deathlock is a character that like they never did anything with. I mean, he was a lot. Here we go.
I love Deathlock, man.
Here he is.
Oh yeah, you got the cap. See,
yeah.
I guess well, the reason why that was torn like that is because it was a returnable.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, this was like, I mean, I have like 8 long boxes full of half cover books, but and they did that up until well, it was funny. I had every X-Men comic book up until 136, and there was a break, and I missed 137 with the death of Phoenix, and I was like, wait, what happened? Like, and I'm trying to find out what happened, and like I finally, and by the time I went to a 7-Eleven to pick them up, like that issue had already gone, so I had to like track down a comic book store, get my dad to drive me there, and go buy this 137 just so I could see what happened with Jean Grey. And yeah, that was back then. That was a big event where they first took a character and they actually, did something where they had to kill her off because, like, she killed 1 billion people. So,
yeah, well, it was Jim Shooter decided no, she cannot live.
Yeah,
she killed a planet full of asparagus people.
Yeah, Jim Shooter was like,
oh boy,
there's a lot of things that he pissed me off about. I understand what he was trying to do to like keep the money side going, but man, he made some really bad decisions with things. I hated Secret Wars.
Oh God, I remember I hated that so much. In my opinion, and again, I love his Legion stuff when he was a kid. He was a pretty good writer. Some of his Avengers, Marvel and stuff. I think he was a terrible EIC. I think he ran Marvel into the ground in the 90s. I chased me away. And yet when he started Valiant in the 90s, I love Valiant comics. Those first few years I thought were some great comics. But I know I got Hungry Boy. That's one of his triggers there. He's not a shooter guy. Lurch. They called him Lurch in the industry, of course. Yeah. Yep. He's had his faults for sure. It's funny how you mentioned but in 1976, I was old. I was 12 years old. That's old right now. But somehow I would have been buying comics for years at the newsstands and stuff. But that year, some of the greatest comics came out, including the first Superman Spider-Man crossover Treasury edition, which I of course adore. And it was of course the bicentennial, and I just remember, I don't know what it is. There were years before and after that a lot of better stuff came out, but for some reason, every time I go back and just want to read an old comic, I go, oh, that was from 1976. I'll just pick one at random and I look at the cover. Let me go read that because there's this place. I'm not saying I do it or anything, but it's online where you can read any comic that exists ever that I never go to read my comics. Because even I'm too lazy to go, if I either don't have it or I'm too lazy to go dig it out. But I never do that. I never go to that site to read any comic that you can read ever online. And it's always from 1976. Let's just say like a wine. It was a good year.
I don't read comic.
Yeah, I don't read comics online. I do. Look, I need digital with my shitty eyesight.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? It's funny because like that era has my favorite Fantastic Four story in it. It's like with where they go out to Xandar and the Sphinx storyline with Galactus and everything.
Oh yeah,
like, that whole saga was like that was done so well.
That was Marv Wolfman finishing up what he started in Nova, and he did that many years. He did that. Oh God, it was like late 70s. Then finally came out the Sphinx thing, and he actually had Byrne and Joe Sinnott inking. Joe Sinnott, my favorite Fantastic Four inker, inking Byrne on it. I knock Byrne sometimes. I like other things he's done. his FF to me never looked better than when Joe Sinnott was inking him. He doesn't agree with that, but Byrne it should be a capital crime for Byrne to ink himself. By the way, but that Sphinx story line, oh man, I'll never forget buying one of those issues, and they're all sitting around, and Reed is tinkering with Herbie the robot from the stupid cartoon, and he's actually in the comic. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing in there? And the Human Torch is explaining, was it to Nova why he wasn't in the cartoon?
Yeah.
He said, well, I wasn't around when they passed out the contracts for that thing. And Nova's going, so the big mystery of why the Torch wasn't in the Fantastic Four cartoon is revealed at last.
I love John Byrne as an artist. I liked some of the things that he did, like when I hate Lumpy Turd Thing. I like Rocky Thing.
Me too.
That look is just so perfect. You can see, all right, yeah, we're kind of working our way through that, but once they establish that, there should be no going back. I did like that he made Reed Richards thin and not like all jacked up and buff, because he should have been like that. That was pretty cool. And I did enjoy the Frankie Ray thing tie-in with Phineas Horton and stuff like that. I thought that was really pretty creative. That was a good idea. But then, he jumped the shark. I think he did She-Hulk pretty good. I hated his changes in Superman. I didn't like that at all.
I hate the Byrne Superman. I know that at least there are a few of us because I hate his reboot of Superman. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hate to the point where when I finally met him at a con in 2000, actually I met him in 1992 and pissed him off at Dragon Con, but in 2000 he came down to New Orleans, and it was this big Easy Con. And everybody in town knew how I used to go off and go nuts about how I was pissed off at John Byrne hating what he did to Superman. And so in the months leading up to it, I could not go to a comic shop without some wise guy going, hey, you going to go kick Byrne's ass? He's coming to town. And you going to go, yeah, I'm going to walk in there and kick a dude's ass over a comic. Shut up, dude. But they were always teasing me, like, you going to go kick Byrne's ass? No, I'm not going to go kick anybody's ass. But, so the con comes around. And a buddy of mine who, like myself, hates what Byrne's revamp of Superman. Now, most people like it. You can't argue with them. What are they going to we decided, you know what? If we go up there, fuck with them, we're going to get kicked out of the con. But we took a issue, Superman #1, the one where they started the numbering over after his quote-unquote Man of Steel reboot comic, and then he did Action Comics, and they changed the regular Superman title to Adventures of Superman and kept the numbering, but they started a Superman #1. We took a copy of that up to him, and we wrote on it, "Thanks for destroying a legend," on there to try to get him to sign it. And Bird looks at it, a friend of mine and I, because we said, look, I said, don't give him any reason to get us kicked out. Just let's hand it to him and see what happens. Handed it to him, and he looked at it and he reads it, and goes, oh, so this is basically fuck you, right? That's what this is. And I just smiled and shook my head, yes. He goes, well, screw you. They just threw it back at us, and we just walked away. We just walked away. We kind of we didn't get thrown out or anything. And then years and years later, a buddy of mine said he saw on Byrne Robotics' site, they said, what was the most, I forgot what they said, most obnoxious or most contentious, whatever it was, fans did to you at a con or whatever, something like that. And he recounted that incident. I didn't know. I didn't read it. A buddy of mine calls me like the next day. This is 10, 12 years ago now, whatever. And tells me, said, well, you left an impression in 2000 on Byrne. What do you mean? He says, he remembers you. I said, no. He said, and he showed it to me. I said, yep, he remembered it. So see, I didn't do anything bad. I contained myself. But everybody's like, when you go, and again, after that, I still had to hear shit about it. You said, yeah, Mr. Big Man, you didn't go mess with him. You didn't go talk to him and tell him he's full of shit or anything. I said, no, man, I'm not going to go get thrown out of a con for you.
Besides, yeah, for what, really? But I will say that, like, the collaboration, like, I think because they hated each other, him and Claremont, they made some of the best comic book stuff with the X-Men. Because after Byrne left that, Claremont just like, and it reminds me of George Lucas when there's nobody to tell George Lucas no. his stuff went to shit.
Yeah,
And
Gary
there was
Kurtz.
nobody to tell Chris Claremont, like, no, that's a stupid idea. And he just went with everything.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly. Gary Kurtz is the reason why we got great stuff like the first Star Wars movie and the second Star Wars movie. And that's about it. And then he was gone, and then we got Return of the Jedi. No comment.
Yeah.
But see, I like Byrne's first couple of years on FF. Then you can tell he gets bored easily.
Mm-hmm.
And he started, first of all, he never should have inked himself, at least in my opinion. I hated his art got really scratchy, started getting really shitty. Then he does really moronic shit, like they go into the negative zone and they come out and their costumes change. I don't like the costumes, but if you're just going to change them, just change them. Don't say something stupid like their colors changed on their costume. Are you 12 years old or something? What the frick? And then it wasn't his fault that he put She-Hulk in there, but I'm like, I can't stand at the time. She had one comic that lasted 20-something issues, and everyone thought she was a joke. Byrne put her in the Avengers. Then he put her in the FF. And again, everyone said, no, everyone always likes to correct me. He didn't do that. Editorial wanted him to do that because they were giving a thing his own book. Whatever. He loves She-Hulk. He put her in there. She's in there. She sucked. I dropped the book. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, back then, see, we paired off when we first started collecting comics. We just went in there, we grabbed anything we wanted. Then we got smart and we realized, like, if I picked up certain titles and my brother picked up certain titles, we could have everything. And we would just swap off back and forth. And, like, Captain America became my favorite and Thor became his favorite. And then he collected all the bigger titles, like he was Iron Man, Avengers, Thor. So I went for all the obscure stuff, like Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, X-Men, all that stuff. And we would just swap off. We would go and read each other's comics. I had Fantastic Four, but I think around that time, I think I'd stopped collecting Fantastic Four after Byrne's run on it. It just got to be a point where I was like, because I think I collected actively from 76 to 98, and it was 1998. I'm like, you know what? I'm not even reading these things. Why am I bothering? Like, I wasn't enjoying them anymore, so I just stopped. And it was, and then of course, like, I've been going back and like replenishing all the ones that got ruined and stuff, and like, and all the really old crappy ones. Every couple of weeks I'll go to the comic shop and see what they got. I have a whole list of things that need to be replaced, and I just gradually get like one or two each week, and try and replenish the collection. But yeah, She-Hulk, I never really got the whole. I mean, I liked the changes he did with. She was fun, she was entertaining, but I wasn't like in love with the character or anything like that. I spent most of my time like in either Captain America or X-Men or Daredevil, plus a lot of Doctor Strange wherever he would pop up. So,
oh yeah, if I'll put it like this, I want to see a green chick. I'll watch Star Trek. So,
yeah,
it has better green chicks. She's annoying, but I never liked her that much anyway. She was a better character in the comics than she was in that awful show. Eric K says for $5. Thank you, Bronze Wrencher. Appreciate you, buddy. He says Bobby's favorite movie is Man of Steel. We don't call it Steel around here. He did say the only way it could be better is if it had Wesley in it. I did say that. I'm sure some alternate universe version of me said that. Thank you, Eric. You're too kind, buddy. Maybe I just slipped my mind and I said, but you know what? Come to think of it, I take it back. I do think that movie would be better if Wesley were in it. That way, one of the buildings could fall on him.
Yeah.
Because Wesley getting killed is never a bad thing. We're Wesley Crusher bashers around here.
Yeah.
Who is it?
He's a one bitch. I can't.
In real life, he's bad. And it's funny, dude. Your character's so annoying. How did you manage to top it in real life?
Yeah, really.
You'd think like annoying characters, but if they're like played by kind of a nice person, and you go, wow, that's a pretty cool dude in real life. Too bad their character sucks. But no, this guy said, you think my character's bad? I'll turn into a total shit like him and make it even worse. That's Will Wheaton, folks.
Yeah. He's like, here, let me give you my opinions that no one asked for.
Yes, and I hate you all. Now, granted, if there's anybody that was picked on a lot, that was a kid, and really you shouldn't pick on a kid. That is, I mean, I'll give him that because he was just a child, and people were. But and just imagine, could you imagine if there was a freaking internet in 1987? Hey, Robert Altus with Wesley Crusher. What would have happened to him if he was a? He's lucky he wasn't a kid. He's lucky that there was no internet because people were pretty rotten to him. I admit it, and Roddenberry had to defend him. So just imagine an internet with a Wesley Crusher as a new character on a freaking TV show. Poor old Wesley. Good thing he's a shithead. We'll not have to feel sorry for him. Yeah. I'm not kidding. I'm a softie. If the guy was like a nice dude, I'd be like, yeah, damn, that's a shame, man, because he was such a cool dude. The same his character sucks so bad.
Yeah, you're right. Because I feel bad for the kid that played Anakin, Jake Lloyd.
Yeah, I absolutely feel bad for him.
That's tragic, But I mean, look, you should never take yourself that seriously, and that's like, I mean, I think it's almost child abuse to put your kid in entertainment because, like, you just see the.
Yes.
I got a really good friend of mine who has worked in Hollywood, and he's heard some stories firsthand, and like, oh my God, it's like it's a cesspool. It's like. Basically, everybody out there has gotten their position. If they've moved up, there's a reason they moved up. So it's a shame.
And I think the more we've learned about that stuff, I would say unequivocally that it is absolute child abuse now to put your kid anywhere near Hollywood.
Yeah.
Child endangerment. I call it child endangerment. Put them anywhere near those sickos.
Yeah.
That's just me, though, I guess.
I agree with you. It's like I would never. Yeah, I would never do anything like. I mean, I got freaked out, like, because my daughter was a gymnast, and then when I heard about what the Olympic coach was doing, I'm like, Jesus, like, and thank God the place she was at, like, it was, there was all women there. Everything was like real transparent, and everything was right out in the open. But my God, you see these things and you just have like these heart palpitations when you have kids. It's like, is that going to happen to my kid? So I can't imagine how these people could see all this stuff happen with all the child stars and then put their kid into it. Like, I mean, that's like saying, here, go play in traffic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad, man. It's absolutely terrible, especially what we're seeing in these She-Hulk people. When they just came out, we talked earlier about before the show about how they came out and admitted they were attacking trolls, and then there's that other lovely person, woman, whatever, that came out that said that they were actually making a show that was something like along the lines like a sexual, like
sex positive for kids.
Sex positive for kids. Those words, that sentence should not exist. That sentence should be investigated by the FBI.
Yeah.
Sex. I am going to say it again, but you're right. It's a sex positive for kids. I'll say it real fast. You've got to be, again, I don't know what article that, I don't know what rag that was in or what mag it was in, but I would, Disney, hey, Disney, would you please look into that? I know you don't care, but.
Well, that's the thing. I think, there's a group out there like to normalize this stuff, and there's a push for it, and it's a hard push. And I loved what just happened in Michigan last week when a group of people that are very religious objected to the new curriculums, and it's a group that they can't criticize. So I think we're going to see some change in some of this. So and hopefully I know how I would like to see a change of it happen, and it may or may not include firearms, but it's, it's just me. Maybe I'm a little intolerant with that, but
totally with you. Yeah, hey there, Lark Harrison. Good to see you. But no, you're right.
These people that think that like they can come out in the open with this stuff and think that people are going to be okay with it, that goes to show you how far devoid they are of reality and what they've done to these comic books. I mean, you pointed this out like on your stream like a week or so ago when you're showing the Dick Grayson pictures. And isn't it funny that they're all against the male gaze if the male gaze is directed at a woman, but if the male gaze is directed at another man, that's fine. It's like,
Oh yeah, of course.
Again, there's their hypocrisy right there. It's like, and then again, it's okay to have Chris Hemsworth naked on screen and Jason Momoa topless. In
Right.
fact, Scarlett Johansson's the only Avenger that wasn't topless. So,
yeah,
there's that, and they don't complain about that. But
no, it's fine.
You know,
Yeah, and we're supposed to. And there's the thing is, yeah, we just if they wouldn't whine about the stuff, we wouldn't care about some of the. We put up with as men put up with a lot of the inequities and just kind of take it in stride. But now they're whining about it and then being hypocrites. So, I mean, the Hulk and Red Hulk were 100%, 100 times more popular than She-Hulk. Says Alaric Harris. Neither Alaric. Yeah, look. Yeah, exactly. The Hulk, She-Hulk, she's not as popular as she used to be, but the show could have been, could have been good. They could have done a good show, even though I'm not that big of a fan of the character anyway. But people who are, they could have. I didn't read the Slott runs. Of course, Dan Slott's a jackass, but some people said that was okay too. These idiots who made the show, they try to hide behind him. They say, well, she breaks the fourth wall, so it's just like the Byrne run or even the Slott run. No, her breaking the fourth wall does not make it like the comic book. So what that she does that? She really only does it a couple of times. Usually, did you notice she's mostly Jen when she does it?
Mm-hmm.
I think, and when she's anyway, and the only thing that was as unfunny and stupid as that last episode was, oh. Thanks, Eric K. Eric K says, Eric K. 2 months, gifted 5 Clobberin Time memberships. Well, thank you so much for gifting the memberships. Anyone out there, please, if you get a chance, if you are so desire, avail yourself of that. Thank you so much, there, Eric. I appreciate you. It doesn't make it like the Byrne run if she does that. And that last episode, as shitty as it was, she busts out the whatever the TV into the app, and that was the kind of crap that Byrne did used to do in the comic. Fair enough, but it just wasn't funny. I mean, okay, this is episode 9, and it's the first time you did something that sort of resembles what Byrne used to do, which she used to walk outside the comics panels and do all this crazy stuff, but she still didn't do it well. So who cares?
Well, that's the thing. Like these writers on this show, like they just have no talent. I mean, and what they did is they portrayed themselves as whiny, lonely, alcoholic, miserable women that
Terrible.
like, I mean, and looking to hook up with somebody. So it's like, and they're desperate to do it. It's funny. It's like
scissoring hands.
They're sitting there complaining like, She-Hulk can't find a nice guy, turning around and calling all these young men incels and stuff like that. It's funny because well, that's because you're all lining up on Tinder, hooking up with the same 10% of guys that you find hot that don't call you the next day. And then you're sitting there wondering why, like, oh my God, these guys are terrible. No, you're just an idiot. You know what?
Well,
get to know somebody first. Get to know them and build a relationship, and those things probably won't happen. I mean, Jesus, I feel so bad for my kid, because he's in this age and he doesn't want to be just like a part of the hookup culture and stuff like that. And it's so hard for these kids to date. I mean, Jesus Christ, you don't know what you're allowed to do. Like, am I allowed to say hello to you or make a joke to you? Or my God. And then if it doesn't go right, God help you, because they'll think nothing of fabricating some things or what you did or something.
Yep.
Oh my God. It's
that's one thing that the kids now do have tough, is that the ones that like young adults because of all the crazy that so many of their, even if they're not, so many of their peers are. It's people are just, I mean, they got a lot of psychos out there. I wouldn't want to be a 22, 23, 25-year-old kid right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Glenzer. Well, thank you for the super chat, Glenzer. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Glenzer says Hollywood believes strong women today have to be a rabid feminist. Comics and movies of the past prove them wrong. That is absolutely correct, sir. Comics and movies of the past do. And comics of today are poop and nobody buys them.
It's funny because they talk about all this like, strong woman thing and stuff like that. I don't know what it's like to be around a weak woman. My grandmother, my great grandmother, she was widowed a month before my grandmother was born.
Oh
Um,
wow.
she raised two kids. My great grandfather was killed in a train accident. Um, Raised two kids and owned the most successful hat shop in Kensington, in Philadelphia, back then when it was actually a decent neighborhood. Nobody went to church without a Mary Mitchell hat on her head, and she was one of the first women to hold political office in Philadelphia. My mom's mother owned 3 hair salons by herself in the 60s, in the 50s and 60s. And my mom, like, she grew up in a depression, and like I remember we were out the little league field, and she grew up in the city, and when she was a little girl, she came home crying one day because all the girls were walking behind her, calling her names, calling her, Bond bread, Bond bread. And she's crying, and she goes to get in the house. And my grandfather says, where do you think you're going? You're like, I'm going to go inside. So you're not going inside. You fight that girl. And like made her go out there and fight the girl. And like, that was the end of it. It's like, so there we are at the little league field. And there's this girl like throwing her weight around to all the little suburban moms. And there's Stella sitting on her little lawn chair, a cigarette hanging out of her mouth. And she, what'd you say? You bitch, where I come from, I'll eat you for breakfast. And that was it. Like on the ground, she invented the ground and pound back in 1973. Bop, bop, bop. Cigarette never fell out of her mouth. And like after that, it was a totally different situation. So, and at the dinner table, I mean, they grew up in a depression. If you said, it was not uncommon for us to get a bloody lip at the table. If you said, oh, what's that? Whack. That hand came across and whacked you right in the mouth. It was like, you better be thankful you got something to eat. And
Yeah.
so when they talk about like these strong, weak women and stuff like that wouldn't stand up, like, I don't know what that's like. Maybe it's somewhere around there, but like, you know what it is? It's all the women that complain about everything, that like all they do is whine. You know what? Just toughen up and get done what you got to get done. It's not hard. Nobody, and I don't know any men that want a woman who's just going to be like, yeah, okay, like, cut me a break.
No.
Sorry about the time.
No, I got you. And again, I've always kind of looked at it as there's no real strong women or strong men. They're just people who are strong and weak at the same time. They're strong sometimes, they're not so strong other times. I mean, all human beings, no matter how tough you might be, you have your weaknesses, you have your drawbacks, you have your flaws, and you're going to make mistakes. Otherwise, you're not but I can tell you this, the show She-Hulk doesn't have any strong people. Everybody is pathetic, as opposed to, I'm reviewing Deep Space Nine on the show Saturday Night Star Treks now, and so I'm watching my episode just today. In fact, watching one of my episodes for review, and I wouldn't normally have thought about this years ago now, but because we are where we are now, and you get all the complaints about there are no good female characters, whatever. Jadzia Dax, who's been in both a male and female, of course, because the character, Kira Nerys, so many of the characters, the female characters on that show, they're not strong females or weak female. They're just female. Oh no, that's right. Female's a bad word. I forgot what I was going to say. Female. Okay, I don't know what else to call them. They are females, so suck it.
Yeah.
She-Hulk show. They're great characters. They're not female characters or male characters. They're characters, and that's all we should care about. And they're really, I mean, Kira. Look, I wouldn't cross her. She's a badass now, and she's tough. And Dax is brilliant. Dax, again, in this particular episode, it was her. A lot of the things she did, her scientific brilliance helped to solve this particular episode. They're written as true characters. You could either have characters or you could have ciphers. And that's all you have with any of this Marvel crap. Now, there's ciphers to make certain points. And the characters, quote unquote, on She-Hulk are horrible. There's not one interesting character. There's not one likable character. They're all pathetic. All of them. Then the character of this guy, this pug guy or whatever, he was the one that made me so curious. Like that first episode he was in, he was reserved, laid back. He was the guy that was defending that celebrity. I'm like, that character's the only guy that I'm kind of like, he's kind of interesting because he's taking it in stride. Then the next episode, he's a nutty. He's totally different.
Yeah.
They forgot how to write him, and then became so annoying and insufferable, like everybody else on the show.
It's funny. When Scarlet Witch came out, WandaVision came out. I'm going back through that thing, pulling up some of the old issues and whatnot, and it ties in with right about that same time that they did that whole arc was when they broke up the Avengers and limited to 7 members, and the storyline where they're trying to get Falcon into the Avengers.
Oh yeah,
and he has a great thing in there. But like, there's a scene in there where where Carol Danvers, Ms. Marvel, is like, she's like blatant come on to Tony Stark, like, with the heavy flirtation and stuff like that. And it was like everything you would have seen, like the same scene play out on TV back then. Like on the sitcoms and the crime dramas and stuff that we would watch on TV back then. And how is it that those people were able to write? And it's funny because I think men in general write women better, or at least used to, because men, we love women and we want to put a woman on screen. Like, for example, like when John Byrne drew Jean Grey, he was drawing Maureen O'Hara. And if you ever watch Maureen O'Hara, like, and you look at it's definitely Maureen O'Hara,
one of the most
like
gorgeous women who ever lived, man.
Yeah, and she was tough as nails. I mean, anybody. I mean, you read about like what how tight her and John Wayne were. I mean, and they would go at it, and she was no shrinking violet. She would she would argue with you like in night and day. But the stories we had back then were written by, and today, I don't think that the women writing these things, not only do they not like themselves, but they don't like other women, because all they do is put out the negatives in it. It's like, I'm watching this She-Hulk crap, and it's like, you just made women look completely shallow and miserable. There's nobody's happy.
It's like that one, and the one character that they made that was kind of, at least like having a good time, that was fun. They made her, I hate to say it, but like a bimbo. The one that ended up in Wong's. Again, I'm a dude. She was super cute. I'm like, dude, she could pop up in mine. And to be fair, she was written with a sense of humor. I don't mind that if you could have a character that's funny, but look what she was like drinking. She was just, the way she talked was very stereotypical. That's what you guys are portraying this woman. We're not doing it. No dudes writing. We're not dudes making a character like that. That's ridiculous. You are. Mm-hmm. Now, and that's all fine and good. If you got a funny show and you want to make a character that's silly and ridiculous like her, that's fine. But don't blame us for it. No, but it's almost like the really like super attractive girls. They definitely want to make fun of them. And that's
because now it's funny, isn't it? It's like, this is the thing that really pissed me off when it's a long list of what pissed me off in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh, God, I hate that show.
It's like, and when they took that, I made the super soldier serum, but it doesn't bulk you up. You still look like a scrawny little toothpick, and yet you can.
Stupid.
My God, like what a pile of shit.
God, it was so bad.
That whole thing, and that pissed me off because I love Sam Wilson.
Me too.
I grew up with that. My first Captain America issues were not Captain America, it was Captain America and Falcon.
Same here.
And it was like, and I have the issue where he gets the wings so he can fly from T'Challa. I have that issue, and it's like, and
nice.
Here we go, like, all right, yeah. And I thought I loved Anthony Mackie as Falcon.
Me too.
Now they're going to come along with all this crap, and you're going to spew all this stuff. And like, no, I can't watch it. It's like, I mean, to me, it's people always be like, oh, well, he's Captain America. Like, no, he's not.
No.
It's like Steve Rogers is Captain America.
Falcon.
And there's only one Captain America. And this is what pissed me off about that stupid ass run where they made Captain America the Hydra agent. What makes Steve Rogers Captain America is that he's incorruptible. He can't be corrupt. He is the Boy Scout. He's like Superman. He doesn't go to that dark side. And
that's right.
Shows They don't get the characters. And I mean, God, like, and back then it was like, Sam Wilson was a guy who was like, he would throw down with you. He was like, he was, he had a temper on him, and he would, but they played off that, Cap was like the level-headed moral high ground. He had to kind of reel in Sam and stuff like that. It was a buddy cop movie in a comic book, and you just loved all that back and forth with him.
This is the first time I ever saw him myself, right here.
Oh yeah, look at that.
This was adapted from an issue. I believe, forget the exact issue number, 140 something or whatever. They were a package deal to me, and I loved them both. And it was, again, the Power record. I would listen to it over and over again. It's how I taught myself how to read as a kid. These Power records, I'd listen to those plays, and I would match the words to the, comic things I was seeing in the comic book. And this is, I mean, they were on equal footing. They were equal characters, and it's a disgrace that they take away. You really do take away something from Sam when you make him try to make force him to be Captain America.
Yeah,
I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, Eric July really put a name on it when he called it the tokenization, and it's funny because I have that issue of the Avengers where Steve goes to talk him into joining the Avengers, and he says, maybe I should just change my name to the Token. He's like, damn it, I've proven myself as a superhero. Yeah. I've done this. I've earned my place. I don't want to just award it to me because, like, and that was what, 1979. I mean, half of these writers probably weren't even born yet, like, when they do it, like, and they think that they're ahead of the times. Like, no, cut me a break.
Gonzalo Bergali, welcome. The thing is, Andy, one of the things that is not anybody's fault, but it's all worth noting is when you think about all the great creators of the things that you and I grew up loving, the Jack Kirbys of the world, the Gene Roddenberrys of the world, the Rod Serlings, the list goes on people who created things or in some cases acted in things that we loved or whatever. All of them come from actual real life experience before they, and then I don't mean just normal. I didn't fight no war. Mm-hmm. So compared to those guys, I haven't done shit. Yeah. But I've lived a life. I'm old, but I haven't done what those guys did. Whereas Gene Roddenberry was a fighter pilot, an airline pilot, and a cop, and all these things before he did the lieutenant. Wrote, in my opinion, he wrote 23 episodes of the greatest Western TV show ever made. Have Gun Will Travel. Fight me on that, folks. There's no better one. I love that show. I don't know if you've ever seen Have Gun Will Travel. Great show. Yeah. And what was it? Jack Kirby, of course, a war hero, war veteran of World War II. There's a documentary, I don't know if you've heard of it, I've mentioned it before, called Kirby at War. It's on Amazon. It's about his experiences in the war. It tells all about when he was over there in the theater in Europe, and then how it affects his art later. It's a great documentary. You got to check that out if you ever get a chance.
You know what's funny? When I first started reading comic books, I did not like Jack Kirby's style.
You're not alone.
I was a little kid. It was like it was blocky. It was like it wasn't until I became a teenager and I started drawing my own comic books. And I went back and I started looking at the way he told a story in pictures. And that's when I understood his genius. And then when I started to really understand about when you started to see his influence on everybody else's stuff, that's when I recognized his genius. It was like, he had an ability that I never could do with all the mechanical stuff. I could never draw anything like that. My art style always tended to be more along the lines of like Neil Adams and things like I could never draw that
machine.
Stuff. Yeah.
I love a Kirby machine.
Yeah. But he was like, and then when I found out how fast he drew that, oh my God, it was like
lightning speed.
Yeah.
Nobody was ever faster than Kirby.
And I was talking with a friend of mine, really good friend of mine, and it's funny, both grew up comic books. He's black, and we were talking about the comic books and stuff like that. And I was like, and about I said, well, you figure if you were to take issues back then, and like they were trying to conserve, like put as few colors as possible on that page. But if you took the mask off of Captain America, Hawkeye, Johnny Storm, you just put them all, they all looked identical. Square jaw, cleft chin, blonde hair. It was like blue eyes. It was just like, all right, what color are we going to make the eyes? Well, we already got blue in the printing press. Like, just make it blue. It was like, but that was the speed of it. It was like you had to get these things out fast. And I mean, my God, like he used to draw how many, like 5 or 6 pages a day? Like, wow.
Yes, he had I forgot they used to call it what he called people later used to call industry, used to call it the Kirby Challenge, where I think Jovis Rubinstein used to talk about this, and a couple of others said they would try to challenge themselves to see if they could be like Kirby and do how many, 4, 5, 6 pages a day, or whatever was crazy amount he could do. And he was working on multiple titles, and that's why that's why they had to come up with different inkers and stuff like that. But yes, I mean, he was the template. I'm not one. I've always loved it from the beginning, but I understand what you're saying, because many people have said exactly what you have, that they had to grow on them because it is an unusual style. It is unrealistic. It is crazy looking. I mean, it's a lot of things. It's exaggerated. It's all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's larger than life, and
the other one that always bothered me was like Steve Ditko, because his fists were always like facing you. It was like no matter what, like it was always these weird angles and feet. He could never. But then as I got older, I started looking at the history of the comic books and the kinetics that he put into those drawings was really groundbreaking. And I mean, because I used to collect when I started getting Captain America, my dad would go out and he would pick me up like some of the old. I had this little paperback. It was about yay big, and it had all of the World War II era Captain America stories in it. And I was sitting there reading this thing back and forth till it fell apart. And yes. Kirby drew all that, man. It was like, but then you had some of the early Submariner and Human Torch, and the art, and that was like that was pretty rough. And so when you saw like the consistency you got with Kirby, man, that was it was a game changer. He revolutionized the industry.
He did. He kind of, in a sense, revolutionized the art form. Some have counted no less than 3 times, because in the Golden Age, the way he started making people draw superheroes bigger was one thing, and then into the Silver Age, when early on, or later Golden Age and in the Silver Age, when the Congress was attacking the industry for being too violent and all these other things, he actually ushered in stuff like the romance comics, so the Western comics, the monster comics, things like that, which when superheroes were on the outs and on the wane for the most part. Then, of course, the Marvel Age, when it came in, and before they were really pretty much Atlas turning into Marvel in the 60s with that Marvel Renaissance. He did that as well. And then even in the Bronze Age, when he moved over to DC, he ushered in that age. When an age changes because of you're monumentally important, because the Bronze Age started when Kirby moved to DC in 1970. Yeah. People try to dispute that. There's no disputing that, in my opinion. You can if you want to. I'm just saying that's what was. It was 1970. He left Marvel. Marvel drastically changed him. Even though they tried to be like him, early on in those early years, all those years when he was at Marvel, when they became Marvel, they'll tell you is that Stan and Martin Goodman, especially Stan, would tell everybody, "Hey, Donnie Pearson, good to see you. Say, draw like Jack, draw like Jack, draw like Jack." Now, Ditko didn't have to do it as much, but it was a little bit different. Everybody else was told, you got to draw like Jack.
Yeah. Well, Herb Trimp was trying his best to clone him.
Oh, God, yeah. And I love me some Trippy now, but I mean, you had a lot of guys, Rich Buckler, Trippy,
Yeah.
Even Steranko to a point did a lot of even he did not naturally the style didn't look exactly like him, but there was some Kirby feel to some of Steranko's stuff as well. It's just he was able to take it a different. Adams was the one, he was the outlier that came along with at Marvel and then later DC that what became everything was almost trying to be Kirby with a little Ditko in there, and then he became introduced a style that also was revolutionary. So
yeah,
it's extraordinary.
I loved a lot of those old. I mean, it's so hard for me to pick like a favorite. There was a lot of very influential artists. Like, I mean, Byrne stuff was to me like, I really like that smooth kind of like very definitive, very, outline kind of thing. Like, Buscema was like, nobody did like motion and action better than him. Like the way his characters looked so alive.
Yes. Good night, Chris. Yes, absolutely. Sal, I'm sure you're talking about Sal in that case.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Sal was a great cartoonist.
Yeah. They did those pages were alive. It was so amazing. Like when you saw that stuff and like, because that's what we did. We sat there, we would draw out of the comic books and copy the pages and stuff like that. And that's how I learned how to draw. And I've been an art, I was an art major in college. There's never been a period in my life where I haven't done some kind of art. And now it's mostly sculpting, but hell, it essentially that's drawing in 3 dimensions.
Yeah. The artists for the 4 Marvel titles I initially collected were Kirby, Ramita, God, I love Ramita too, Tuska, and Trippy. Yep. And boy, was I spoiled. But what a time, D-Bud, absolutely. And these guys, see, these people, they were trained cartoonists. In other words, it was truly sequential art, as Will Eisner called it. And some artists can make really pretty pictures, but they can't really tell. They're not great storytellers. It still looks good, don't get me wrong, but they don't really convey.
Image Comics.
Oh yeah, but they don't convey us. In other words, it might look better than Sal Buscema, but Sal Buscema can make you look like the action is really jumping off the page. And of course, Kirby was the master of that. He was the master of not only composition, but he was the master of his people. Kirby could tell the story with one panel. Kirby could have one panel and it could feel like 10 panels because so much is happening in the one panel. It's so busy. And whereas Buscema, either one of them could have great action sequences that are Sal was dynamic. He doesn't get a lot of credit for being dynamic. Mm-hmm. John gets most of the credit. I love John Buscema the best, of course, but Sal could really make it, especially some of those issues of Nova he did. Which, we reviewed those recently on Nick's channel, the first his run on there. And I loved Sal. And they had this, yes, it wasn't gorgeous. It wasn't beautiful art like you see like sometimes Perez or a Starlin or a Michael Kaluta or somebody like that could do, but it could tell an action sequence with the best of them.
Yeah. It's funny because like as pretty as Jim Lee's stuff came out when he first hit the scene, he was really but there wasn't the storytelling going along with the art. It was basically pinups. It was
staticky.
Everything was like, oh, look how pretty this panel is. Look how pretty this panel is. But it wasn't alive. It was
same with McFarlane. I never was a big Jim Lee guy, I promise, but same McFarlane, Left Field, any of these guys, they were not good cartoonists. I don't know if any of them went to Kubert School or not, but they weren't good storytellers. Now again, not every great artist was. For me, Hal Foster's fantastic. His was not fluid sequential art in his Prince Valiant. Yet he's one of the great masters, as is Alex Raymond. Again, his were like pictures. It was like an illustrated story almost. I love the Flash Gordon. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't free-flowing sequential art the way the Spirit was by Will Eisner and some of these other artists. It wasn't necessarily cartooning in that sense, but it's still great art. And so but some of them are just better at action than others.
Yeah. Well, that's like if you look at uh, the Wolverine series, that first 4-issue limited series, the artwork wasn't great in it, but it told a great story. It was like, and it wasn't like the high point of the time. Like you would have thought but I mean, that was what put Wolverine on the map, really. Like,
Yes.
At that point, that's when he exploded and became. Then, of course, like you had everybody became Wolverine. That was like the downfall of the X-Men. Like now everybody became like, gritty and angry and stuff.
Yes, it led to some different and a few back in I guess February or something. Lord Thoth and Mark D and we reviewed that comic because that was a big deal, man. Look, when what happened is on the way to San Diego Comic-Con or something like that, Frank Miller and Chris Claremont, and I think even Joe Rubenstein and Lynn Wayne, a few other people were talking about, we want to give one of the X-Men a comic. Who should we pick? And they just ended up settling on Wolverine for no. Then it weren't sure exactly why, but that was probably a good decision because it wasn't too long after that Wolverine Alone, comic where it was during the Dark Phoenix saga, the Hellfire Club stuff.
Yep.
And which really put him on the map. What was it, like 133 or the X-Men or whatever it was?
Yeah.
I don't remember the actual issue number. So he become popular, and then they said, well, let's try it out. Let's try with Wolverine. Let's make it. At that time, miniseries were not. It was it's not the first miniseries. I think that was Contest of Champions, but it was very close to one of the first ones. It was Hercules, Prince of Power. There was that one. And I was running a comic shop at the time, with the first comic shop down in. I was a kid. Sorry, Eric, Kate mentioned that. I was a kid down, running the first one that they had down here. This is 1982, and we went nuts for this thing. I mean, I was like, "Whoa, Wolverine!" It's by Frank Miller because we all, we loved his Daredevils. Claremont, who wrote the X-Men. Jovis Rubinstein is really the reason why the art is so good. But we couldn't believe this thing. In fact, so much so that we made that cover of #1 our shirt for a comic shop, and everything. It was just like, man, it was just, we were just over the moon about it. And it was great. And it changed comics because, Spider-Man was the face of Marvel. And not immediately, but eventually, not too long, good 6, 7, 8 years later, when Wolverine finally started picking up even more steam and getting his own series later, he almost, I'm not saying he replaced Spidey, but let's face it, whereas you could stick Spider-Man on a comic book with sagging sales to boost a little bit, Wolverine became that as well. Just stick Wolverine on the cover of any damn thing. I'm not the biggest Wolverine guy, don't get me wrong, but he was good for sales, and I liked him back then.
I actually have the first appearance of Sabretooth in Iron Fist from his first appearance of that. Yeah, another John Byrne. It's funny because he had Wolverine in one of those issues where he was wearing the precursor to the orange and brown costume. Because he had it from Fang from the Imperial Guard, and was like, and he liked the way it looked on him, so he eventually changed the color of it. But those are some days, man. Like that Wolverine issue was like, then of course, like you had all the clones come out of Wolverine. So you had Wolverine, then you had Sabretooth, you had Wild Child. Everybody had a healing factor all of a sudden. It was like, come on, like, be imaginative, will you? Like, and it was funny because in the X-Men, for the longest time, nobody exactly knew what Wolverine's powers were. Like, he was just like, we knew he could smell and the claws and track thing, but nobody knew what his powers were until somebody said, like, he heals really fast. Okay. And everything else is sort of response to that. So
Healy Chow, Roll Tide. Yeah. And that's a good point. Classic Comics. He was, in a sense, the Marvel counterpart to Timberwolf, because Timberwolf was definitely first, and Dave Cockrum, who helped co-create him. I mean, actually, he refine him later after Roy Thomas, Lynn Wein, and Herb Trimpe created him for the Hulk. That is, who helped define him, his look a little bit more. When Dave Cockrum took over him, yes, there was kind of a Timberwolf sense to him. Of course, I love Timberwolf. I'm a Legion fan, so yeah. But
well, Wolverine
was big. So
you had a lot of clones of it. Like, you had Badger Lobo. I mean, Lobo is like,
he's Wolverine. He's DC's
Yeah.
Wolverine.
right.
That's when he started out, he wasn't really that much. And then eventually they kind of made him DC's Wolverine. But Badger was a fun comic, by Mike Barron. A buddy of mine used to cosplay him cosplayed Badger in the 80s. Nobody was doing that but him. But yeah, Wolverine was influential. Like I said, you guys, that's where you get Lobo. Because Marvel see Marvel do and DC see DC do. They used to. It's funny how much it would take you eons to if you were like to keep a score of how many times one of these companies ripped off the other.
Oh yeah,
you'd be here. You couldn't to the end of creation. They've done it so many times.
And look how many. Look, we won because of it. I mean, because you had a lot of really good derivative characters come about because of it.
Oh yeah.
And they've been fleshed out really well over the years. So yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we've definitely benefited. Well, we did back then when there was actual competition. I think that's if Marvel and DC were ever going to get good again, they would have to be sold off, separated, and have to actually sell books to survive again. And that's what would make them good again. But like right now with Daddy Warbucks pocketbook, and they don't have to worry about actually selling comics because it's a losing money industry. That's why and nobody gets fired because if back then if comic book sales were what they are now, these people would have been chucked off and titles canceled.
The biggest seller would be canceled just maybe even 15 years ago. Maybe you don't have to go back to the 80s or 90s. Maybe just 10, 12 or 15 years ago, maybe even that. In fact, I'm pretty sure that today, whatever today's biggest seller is, and I don't know what it is, it would be gone. It couldn't maintain it. I understand that's because the market's different, but still, just goes to show you that the print run on comics in the 70s and 80s and 90s, they wish now they could sell as many as they sold of what would be a comic that didn't last long in the old days, The Human Fly.
Yeah.
Team America, and I don't mean the movie with puppets. US1 comics we joked, NFL Super Pro. I don't know, comics we joked about back then, like, God, what is this crap? Would sell, would run rings around sales wise. I mean, as far as if you compare their sales of today, because nobody's buying this crap, man. Nobody.
Yeah. And it's a shame because, if you look at the manga sales, that tells you people want to buy this visual storytelling thing, but they want a good story of it. They don't want the crap that these people are putting out. And
wow, look at Hungry Boy. One of my books sold one. Wow, look how damn.
Wow.
Compared to that won't do that today.
No.
Holy shit. No, sir. Howard the Duck #1, Stan did not want to do it, and he underprinted it, and he had to go back to the printer for it. And I was and you think, oh, underprinted it. What, he only did a few thousand? Underprinted it there was only 200-something thousand. That was considered underprinting. They ended up printing over 400,000 #1, something like that, and that was considered conservative, like a modest printing run.
Yeah,
1975 or 6 or something like that. Hello, Trevor Cunningham. Good to see you. I mentioned, your favorite, The Human Fly. I'm sorry, I had to. No one else thinks about that. It went 19 issues, and you got them all, D-Bud.
All right, I'm going to grab something over in the corner. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. Go for it. So, yes, everybody, the Human Fly. I forgot you mentioned that once before, D-Bud, that you have every issue of The Human Fly. You don't hear that mentioned in public very often, do you? So, yeah. Damn, Hungry Boy, that's a big number there, though. Good to see you there, Keely Chow. Trevor, it's good to see you. That's your guilty favorite. Still have do you have every issue with The Human Fly there, Trevor? Like D-Bud does? Just curious. I remember who used to draw that thing? Lee Elias, and who was really old at the time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken there. D-Bud. All right, Cam, thanks for popping in, buddy. Good to see you, man. Take care. I remember that it was always said the greatest superhero of them all because he's real. The Human Fly's real. You have the first 12 issues, Trevor. Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
What you got there? Oh my, let's see. Got
It's
some artwork here.
one of my few remaining sketchbooks from back in high
Oh,
school.
cool. I love Colossus.
There's a Colossus. I did a Magma from New Mutants.
Oh, we don't have them anymore. I got you. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Nice.
Let's see what else I got here. I think I did a Nightcrawler.
I love Nightcrawler. That is excellent, dude. Wow.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love excellent.
Been a while
I
since
love
I've actually picked up
Nightcrawler.
Pen and paper and like I started doing it again. But yeah, I miss it. It's like the old days when like you used to just like pick up a pencil and start like doodling on things and making stuff up. It's like now I see some of the artwork they put out there. It's like such crap. I mean that picture they put of Captain Marvel, like where she's like Carol Danvers, like, which I can't call her Captain Marvel. It's just
she ain't Captain Marvel. She's Carol. She was fine as Miss Marvel. Now she's Miss Insufferable.
Yeah.
Roy says, I got a, was it? Oh, great. Clobby digs Colossus. Now I got to draw. No, you don't have to. I like him, but he made I don't even know if he made my top 100 list of characters, which I haven't gone through in a while, but I like him. And I mean, I think he's pretty cool. I was rewatching the Fox X-Men cartoon recently again. And I was aggravated because they didn't put him on there enough.
I did like how they did him in Deadpool.
Yes.
Deadpool that was pretty funny.
That was cool, especially when he got in the second one when he got to fight the Juggernaut.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Lee
great.
Elias, Frank Robbins. JD Lewis. I talk about this a lot. I'm not gonna go dogging on Frank Robbins because I get in trouble when I trash George Tuska as it is for D-Bud. But yeah. Sorry, D-Bud. There's the thing again. Did you have? Was it something? Because I know we're talking about some artists. One of my favorite things about comics, obviously, we love the characters, we love the stories and the art. I love the inside baseball stuff. I love the old comics history stuff. The minutia of it, the business inner workings of the business of it, the writers, the artists, the things that went on the editorial, all that crap. I'm crazy about that kind of stuff that nobody really gives a shit about. But were you the kind that followed the artists and all that stuff too? Like you knew you could spot the inkers, the artists, different things like that, at least back then?
I liked it when they would pop up in different stories, but I wouldn't necessarily follow them around. I did a little bit with John Byrne, but a lot of that was, I think it had more to do with the fact that I was interested in the titles that he moved to. I had already been collecting Fantastic Four. Right. I was already collecting Iron Fist and stuff like that I think I bought She-Hulk just because it was a first issue. Because you know how it was back then. It's like, well, it's a first issue. Let me grab it, and something new. But sometimes I wouldn't necessarily just because there was a certain artist on it, I wouldn't grab it. Although, with the exception of Barry Windsor Smith, I loved watching his because I never really cared for Machine Man till he did some issues of Machine Man.
He inked Trippy on it, and it just looked. He overpowered the hell out of him.
Yeah. I was like, wow.
I love that thing. Oh, so good, so good. Yeah, Barry Windsor Smith. Barry Smith started out as he came over from across the pond as Barry Smith ripping Kirby. We were talking about Kirby rips. Yeah. Look at his old stuff. It's just him aping Kirby, but it got him a job. It got him a foothold in there, and then eventually he started. His art, it's amazing how that happens too. It started to change. Then he put the Windsor in there. Yeah. His Conan, of course, was fantastic. I love this Valiant stuff too.
You know who I originally hated, but then I really loved. I went back and started collecting a whole bunch of stuff just for the art. Was Gene Colan. When he did Doctor Strange, because there was it wasn't clear cut and defined. There was so much shadow and stuff like that. It was very artistic, and it was and as a kid, you were looking for things that were very definitive. But
Yeah,
and his stuff was so lost in shadow. But then when you got into the horror of it, like in the mystique, like I love his Doctor Strange work. He really
oh yeah,
he put atmosphere into it. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like he handled atmosphere in print.
he was atmosphere. Hello, the Mr. Grant Gregory. What's up, my brother? Good to see you,
Hey,
buddy.
Grant.
Hey, man. I think my favorite of his is still, of course, for me is his Daredevil, but I like this Doctor Strange. Of course, it is Tomb of Dracula was just
I
incredible.
love Tomb of Dracula.
What a great comic. We're going to be reviewing the first issue on Nick's show Friday night. And that was a great run. Just terrific. And it's so funny because that run, you have Dracula in the Marvel universe, which is kind of funny. And it's just, he's in there. But, it was weird because when Gene Colan left Marvel and went to draw, I just thought he was totally the wrong fit for Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
He drew the Wonder, and then he went to Detective Comics because Gene Day. I don't know if you're familiar with that artist. Great artist who was brilliant on Master of Kung Fu.
Mm-hmm.
Moved to DC. He was going to take over Batman on Detective. I think, and then passed away at a very young age, unfortunately. And so Colan took over, and I thought his Batman. After seeing him on Daredevil, it was weird seeing him on Batman. It was okay. It was still Colan, nice guy.
Yeah.
I met him one time, but it was different. Then he did a book in the 80s called Nathaniel Dusk. He did Night Force, which again, another one. He did a lot of DC stuff. Nathaniel Dusk was a detective comic that he did in pure pencil. They don't ink the comic, didn't ink it. Have you ever seen that? It's a great looking book. It's very interesting because hey, Max Redstone, good to see you, buddy. It was very different for DC to do a book like that, a detective series done in pencil. If you ever get a chance just to look at it, it's just fascinating.
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, because he was like he had a such a good, and Bernie Wrightson too. Like him, he was.
Oh, Bernie Wrightson, amazing dude.
Yeah, you look at that stuff and like that was like nightmare creating.
Also a nice man, also a nice dude. His Swamp Thing, of course, it was fantastic. His that's my easy odds on favorite of his work. But when he did for Marvel that Frankenstein illustrated novel,
yeah,
oh my goodness, that is just magnificent.
Man.
Why would they bring back Nathaniel Dusk and Doomsday Clock with their classic comics? That's disturbing. That's a strange place for him to pop up. But I'm glad somebody remembers that comic. But yeah, Colan's. Who's another one from that era that you other favorites? Who were some of your favorites?
I loved Keith Pollard's work in Thor.
I love Keith Pollard. Underrated.
Yeah. He what's it, Thor 200 or 300 where he fights the Celestials.
I believe it was 300. I want to say
that whole arc where it goes back and you have Thor and and he put it actually into the
it was from the Eternals.
Yeah, the Norse stories and stuff like that. Man, that was so good. And
Pollard was interesting. He had a good run on the Fantastic Four with Joe Seneniking him.
Mm-hmm.
He was on Spidey. He was on Thor, and then he did some Green Lantern. But you don't hear much about some of those guys like that. But he was a good, competent artist who did great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there was let's see, there was Don Perlin used to, he would pop in on, and he was sort of like a ham and egger, but he would do a competent job in it. He wouldn't blow your doors off, but he would he got the story told, and he was in a lot of Captain America issues, a lot of Ghost Rider.
Defenders was a big run for him.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big Perlin guy, but I didn't like his Valiant stuff. I know my buddy Hungry Boy loves Perlin. He's gonna get mad at me for that. He can't say it. But Perlin, I knew he was. Look at him. Oh God, Perlin. There you go. But yeah, look, hey man, Perlin was competent. He got the job done. He did Defenders forever.
I loved it. Defenders was one of those books where it wasn't always on my list of like, I mean, but whenever we would find them in the piles, because when we would go over to this farmer's market, and they had this gigantic table, and there were just stacks of comics, and we would thumb through every single one of them. My dad would drop us off there. He would go walk around the place. I mean, this is back in the 70s where you could leave your kid alone, and you didn't have to worry about somebody snatching the kid up and whatnot. But he would walk around, get his, pick up the stuff that he wanted, and me and my brother would be going through like every single stack of these comic books, and like until we had this massive pile. And Defenders was always one that like I would pick up because it was different. And even Champions was good too, because like these oddball teams.
Some of the art was bad though. Woo.
Yeah. But the oddball teams, like,
yeah,
who would ever think of mashing them together? It didn't make sense, but it
putting
worked.
Ghost Rider in a team was a weird idea, but you just love. I mean, look, I bought it. Yeah. I loved the idea of it. It had some crappy art most of the time on Champions, but Jesus Christ, I think didn't have some Frank Robbins or something, or
yeah. Oh, I hated Frank Robbins.
And there's the thing, I hated him on Invaders, but I wanted to buy Invaders because it had great Kirby covers and Kane covers, and to have to look at his art in that comic was painful, but I bought it anyway.
Yeah, and it's like there's no anatomy. They're all kind of twisted.
Everybody's skinny. Everybody's like a stick figure.
Yeah. And the facial expressions are, yeah.
And the thing is, and good night, JD Lewis. Here's the thing, I've discovered in my travels, I guess if you want to call that being on the internet or whatever, like just seeing all the different types of varying opinions about art that there are out there throughout the course of just reading people talking about different artists. I don't care which artist you name. You could name the one that you think is the worst ever, that everyone goes. And 15 people in the same room, you could go, God, he sucks. You're right. You're going to find somebody that thinks they're fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I see people, again, because you know how Facebook has, Facebook's the only thing that's worthwhile is all the different comic book groups that I go in there all the time and read stuff, and all those different combos going on. And I see people talk about how fantastic Frank Robbins was, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
Like, what are you drinking?
What? Now, again, one of the things, Andy, about that is back then I'm just a kid. So I would buy it like with this Kirby cover or this Kane cover or what have you. And it would open up that, and I see this shitty art. And all I would say is this, or like I would get a Justice League, and it would have a beautiful George Perez cover and really horrific Don Heck insides. So I didn't know anything about, I didn't know that was a 50, 60, 70-year-old man whose hands barely worked, who was barely making ends meet. Who was, getting a gig because his buddies who were editors were giving him the lesser titles to draw. And God bless him. I didn't know that kind of shit. I just this sucks. I was 10, 13, 15, and whatever it was at the time. And I'm saying, this is garbage. I didn't know that like I know it now. So now I'm like, God, man, those dudes didn't have any kind of insurance. They didn't have any kind of, pensions plans or any of that stuff. And they worked most of those guys that we're talking about now had been in the biz since the golden age, since the 40s, and they were still working into the 70s, and that's all they could do. And I didn't know. So now I know. God, I feel bad about all those times I bitched about Frank Robbins.
Yeah,
poor old Frank. I mean, or George Tuska. Sorry, Dongry boy. I know you're a Tuska guy. See, there's D-Bud. He says, I didn't think Frank Robbins was what he said. I didn't think Frank Robbins was fantastic, but he was better than the clowns they have drawing now. Well, I mean, I agree with you on that, just on principle.
Oh, today's. I was looking at some of the stuff that they put out. Like it looks like comic strips, like with there's no anatomy, there's no it's all all these like weird shaped faces and stuff and heads. It's like, and somebody has the balls to put out that like, I've drawn Marvel comics. Like,
no, you didn't. Your computer did.
Yeah, and I was watching Ethan Van Sciver last night, and he had a guy on there who was working with he's an inker, I forget his name, and he was working on, he's learning how to draw now. It's like just as a penciler. And watching, it was him and
hey, little Muslim uncle, what's up, buddy?
Shane was on there, and they're all talking about like giving him pointers about how to make this thing and doing little sketches and stuff like that. I love watching drawing streams. I like
Oh yeah.
Makani draws, like watching him do that stuff. It's like because I love to sit there with a pen and ink and just like doodle away. It's like I kind of miss that stuff because like I just don't have the time to do it anymore. But man, watching people draw, it's relaxing.
Yes. Especially since I can't draw, so I like to be able to watch see people do something I wish I could do. Your Muslim uncle, good to see you, buddy. And there's the thing, is now a lot of it's being done on computers and stuff. I'll say what I want about Robbins or Tusk or any of those guys. They drew with a pencil on paper.
Yeah,
for better or worse. But freaking. A lot of them are doing this crap with computers and stuff now and again. I don't know exactly how that works. I know that there's this one. Who's that guy? Is it Greg Land or one of them? This dude that there was a big controversy. Maybe Hunger Boy or someone will know. Just a good while back, where he got nailed for taking like just photographs and pictures and stuff, just tracing them and putting them on.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Land? Yeah,
and for the comics, and he didn't draw jack shit. It was just Hey, Matthew Pounder, good to see you there, buddy. So yeah, and this guy he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't doing art. He wasn't drawing on a piece of paper. And again, a lot of people use a computer, but they're still drawing. They're still doing the drawing. But then they'll use like for buildings or for backdrops, or they'll cheat and they'll take all this. They'll use the computers and draw on that. They don't have to draw their own backgrounds. A lot of people like that. This is coming from some dope that knows nothing about art. But I think it was Land. It was one of these guys who they found out about him. He was just using pictures, just making using a computer, like using photos and stuff. Remember, thought he's such a good artist. And I used to know an artist. He's no longer with us. A gentleman I was friends with back in the 80s, who could take a little piece of ivory the size of a quarter and paint a face on there to look like a photograph. It was that good.
Wow.
And and there are plenty of artists who could do the photoreal painting and stuff. This guy didn't. He was just a sham. But I think he still works. Adobe was the beginning of the end for proper comic art, says Hungry Boy.
Yeah, I miss those old, like, I love like the hand painted stuff. I mean, well, look, what's his face? Does the realistic superheroes and stuff. Alex Ross.
Yeah. Yes.
Great work. I understand he's not the very nicest of people, but
no, he's a crap ball. Great art.
Yeah. It was really cool to see those realistic looking things brought to life. It was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like he's the Norman Rockwell of superheroes. That was pretty neat.
And I love his work, but as a person, but nothing surprising about that. Now, did you see his latest work that he's come out with? I think I got a chance to tell Doomcock about it one night. He has a new book out called Fantastic Four Full Circle that Marvel Marvel licensed it out, of course. He pitched this to Marvel many years ago. But this other, I hate the name of the company because it's Abrams, and I hate that name in general. But this book called Abrams Books put this out. So in other words, Marvel didn't even want to produce it or print it. So he had to do it. They had to do it. And this is different from any Alex Ross work ever. If you see here, I'll show you some pictures of it. He did pencils, and he added a very almost like those old blacklight posters.
Yeah.
Types of colors to it. It's a beautiful book. It's an homage. It's written to feel just like an old Kirby FF issue. I've really loved it. I mean, it came out my last month, and it's just, I want to see more stuff like this. And this is him changing his own art style in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. This book is, I'll show you, if you see, like, I gotta love this because I miss my beloved Fantastic Four. But if you see here, it's just incredible, man.
Yeah, I love the way I always loved the way he did Human Torch. When he did the original Human Torch and a couple of those issues.
Oh,
Man, that
Marvels.
was oh yeah, that was incredible.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, when I first saw his work, like a lot of people first saw his work in Marvels.
Mm-hmm.
Marvels was just terrific, and yeah, it's just the way things should be. I mean, I want if he'd do one of these a year or something, man, I'd be happy because just to get something like that. But anyway, so he's got this. There's one more here. He's got the old Kirby collage. Look, he got an homage to the Kirby collage right here. Where are you at? Oh, there you go.
Wow.
This is a beautiful book.
Isn't it a shame that like we were hoping for like good movie adaptations of this stuff, and now we're praying that they don't try to touch any of these things? They're going to destroy them.
Yeah, now they just want to. Yeah, they don't care. That's why this story is so good because it harkens back to a classic issue of the Fantastic Four, and he just. I could tell he did it when he just ignored anything to do with modern shite, and they let him do it. And again, isn't it telling that it has to be done outside of Marvel? They just like let him they license it. They let this guy do what he wants because he's a big name, and they just said, "Yeah, screw it, do whatever you want, but fine, just go make money on it, and pay us money, and whatever." And that's all we need to worry about because we don't care. We want to, their current FF comics sucks donkeys.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's nice to see something like that slip through the cracks once in a while. I've been getting these hey that 70s Fat Rock fan. What's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. I've been getting these facsimile editions they've been doing lately. That's the only thing I buy, and they're old comics. They're basically a reproduction of an old issue here and there. And it's just like obviously it's not the 10-cent cover price that you see on those comics. They're $4 or $5, but they're got all the ads and everything of some classic comics. They're pretty cool.
I love the old ads. It's funny because that's where I got my you would cut them out and send away with the Mego figures with a check, and
yes,
because we went around and back then it was great because I was the youngest of 4 boys, so. Not only did I get my own toys to play with, but I also got my brother's hand-me-downs. So we had, and me and my brother Ed, there was like 2 years between all of us. And so me and my brother Ed, we were the closest together. Like, so we would still have all these things. And we had everything. We had Batman, Robin, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batgirl, Shazam. Back when he was like... we had Fantastic Four, that with the Thing and Human Torch and just the crappy printed on like little fabric suit. But I could never find Captain America and Falcon. And
man, I did find those myself.
We would hunt around, and we would. And back then, you had Kmart, Two Guys, Grants, all these different department stores. One day, my dad heard about this place up in Pennsauken, like Discount Harry's, and we went there. And he told me I could get one, and they had both of them. And I'm sitting there like, and he just looked at me. He's like, "All right, take them both. Come on." Like, it was like,
nice.
I think I was like 11 years old, and I was like, they were my prized possessions. Oh my God.
I love Migos, man.
Yeah. It was funny because there's a place around me that carries all these vintage figures and toys and stuff like that. And you walk in there and I'm like, man, I thought they looked so much cooler when I was a kid. But like,
well,
they're just like, but I mean, hey, they got the job done. It was,
oh God, yeah, man. Whew. I never could find Conan, the Thing, Tarzan. They had a couple of them.
Yeah,
I think I found the Falcon once, and Cap. I think. Oh, there were a few that you couldn't just.
I had Thing, I had Thing and Hulk, and which is one of the things. Like, I look at like this Hulk figure. This is a knockoff.
Oh wow!
So this is nice. Made from the Hot Toy, but he doesn't have any leg articulation. but they used Hot Toys molds for him. And
Oh my,
but I mean, he's
that's
big.
nice though.
$50.
Oh Lord, that's not bad.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, the other one's like 450. So like, this is pretty cheap.
Was that? Oh wow, yeah, yeah. Did they do? I guess they've never done a proper thing, huh?
Not yet. Which is funny because every time I start to work on something, they make it, and so I've put a halt on because like I was actually working on designing a Man-Thing figure.
Oh, cool.
Because I found this stuff that you can it's this silicone that they use for prosthetics and makeup and stuff like that, and you can actually like paint it on and make it like it is. And I was looking at Randy Bowen's Man-Thing statue, and it looks amazing.
Wow.
And I was like, I can copy that, and if I can make that into articulated, now I'm like, and I've been playing with this off and on for like the last 5 years or so. And now I just saw Man-Thing in Werewolf by Night, and I'm like, I'm going to hold off. So depending upon what they do with what Marvel does with Fantastic Four, because I look at some of these things, I'm very picky with what I buy as far as an action figure.
Yeah.
Because they're so damn expensive, and I don't have a whole lot of room. Most of the time I make my own, but like if there's one that I'm very picky with a few of the things I got. I don't have an authentic Iron Man. I got a knockoff Iron Man because I can't justify like the $360 for it. But something like Man-Thing and the Thing I would buy. So depending upon how they make the Thing look when they eventually get around to a Fantastic Four movie, like I did not like the Morbius movie. But the action figure looks pretty cool. It looks
Marvel Legends.
No, it's
Hot
Toys.
Hot Toys. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not getting the Moon Knight figure because it just
looks like the shitty TV show.
Yeah, it's not close enough to the comic book costume, and the TV show ruined it for me. So it's like I'm looking forward to. Hopefully we get a decent Daredevil figure, because I didn't have the money to buy the one when they made it for the Netflix series. But there's a few out there that I want to get. Like that's after I saw the Werewolf by Night, the werewolf, I'm like, I'm not interested in doing that because he doesn't really look werewolfy. I might just like make my own with a Lon Chaney look or something. But
nice.
I like to make some of these things and like put together my own versions of stuff. And there's a few of the things that I like the way they did. Like Captain America's kind of had like that era accurate tactical version of his costume. I thought that looked pretty cool, like as a realistic idea. So I'm putting together my own invaders that are like that, like because after I saw the Submariner, like there's no way in hell I'm buying one of them. So, and I guarantee you, like for example, how long ago did Captain Marvel come out? Sideshow just offered. They're still sitting on Captain Marvel figures. They just offered 30% off with free shipping to try and unload these things, and nobody's buying them. So
damn, good. Nobody wants that crap. They should have learned that lesson.
Well, that's the thing. I said this on Doomcock show. Like, I'm the guy who spends a lot of money on merchandise. If somebody's willing to plunk down like $250 for an action figure, you should be kissing my ass if you're that company, because I'm the person you should be listening to. Instead, you're listening to these people who've never read the book, will never buy your merchandise, but because you think it gives you some virtue points and stuff like that, you're going to cater to them. And I'm like,
it's ridiculous.
If the She-Hulk show, I probably would have bought a She-Hulk figure just because you're probably never going to get one. Like I got Vision up here because they went with the white Vision. I don't like the white Vision. I like more of the classic Vision.
Me either. Yeah.
This is going to be my last chance to get a red Vision, so I bought it. I figured I'll probably see Scarlet Witch again down the road because they'll bring her back like they always do. Some of those more obscure characters, their Doctor Strange is awesome. I like the way that they translated the costume for the film. That was it because it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
But like I made my own Baron Mordo.
Oh wow! Let me enlarge that. That's fantastic, dude. That's
Now,
real deal Mordo right there.
Yeah, what I did was
I like it.
Sometimes I'll sculpt my own things, but if I can find something on eBay, there's this is a Joaquin Phoenix head sculpt for Joker. I added a goatee to it and just like did that. And here's one that I don't like.
Absolutely. That is so cool.
There you go. Oh, what happened? Oh, I hit my button. There you go.
I think you turned your camera off.
What did I do? Oh, I hit.
No camera. And now it's a black screen.
Yep, hang on a second. Yeah, I dropped Baron Mordo on my plug here.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That is so cool, man.
Camera? What the heck? What did I do?
Is it a StreamYards thing or?
No, let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay.
There you go. Oh my.
There's
the ancient one.
The ancient one.
The real ancient one.
And I put him together. He's more purple.
Wow.
I did his his costume colors and stuff. But I did it kind of like the style that they did in the movies. Give him like the little Chinese boots and stuff. But
that's amazing, man.
I want my shelf to represent the comic books that I had as a kid. So I don't, I'm not gonna like I like Chiwetel Ejiofor, but like it's not Baron Mordo. He's like
good actor, but just not him.
That character was like that. Mordo was a bad guy. He was sinister. He was evil. He was like I want a character. I want a bad guy like that. What they did with Charlize Theron as Clea, they didn't even give her white hair at the end of that thing. I'm like, which I might use her head sculpt, but like you can pick up these heads and you can pop on another body, and if you can fabricate the outfit, you can make your own collection, and for pennies on the dollar for like compared to what they charge for because you can get a base body like this thing here for $17, and it's got 32 points of articulation. It's got like you can swap out pieces and stuff, and like you can find if there's anybody that's got any ability to sew and things like that, because I learned how to sew by making my daughter American Girl doll outfits because I couldn't afford to buy them. She was like my wife's like can you she wants this thing, but we can't afford it. So I built her all this doll furniture. I learned how to make the things and stuff like that, which has bit me in the ass because like she's 20 years old now and she still thinks I can make everything for her.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Got her spoiled there, huh? I wish I could sew. I can't even sew. I want to put it like I buy these cool patches from cons and I want to put them on my shirts and jackets, and I don't even know how to do that. Yeah. It's pretty pathetic.
Well, they sell this stuff. They sell this stuff you can iron them on. It's like an adhesive.
I don't trust the iron-on ones though. I bought the iron-on ones.
Yeah, you might be able to like swing by like the laundromat where they have like they do some repairs and stuff. They could probably sew them on for you.
Yeah, I need that because I got me some geek patches I want to put all over my jackets and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Well, so what you got else going on before we let you get out of here? Because I know we've kept you here forever, man. But I've really enjoyed hanging. Anything else that you want to show anybody or that you're working on? I mean,
well, I've got some... let's see what I have here. Here's a blade I put together.
Oh wow!
I got the Wesley Snipes head, and it's funny if I could find. I love Wesley Snipes' version of Blade, but he's not really Blade because Blade's British. Idris Elba would have been a better Blade, but like they wouldn't have the martial arts thing. But guy here is like, they're rewriting and finding a new director for it, so we'll see.
The guy they got, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's a good actor, but
I got a Terry Crews head for Luke Cage. So I figured he was pretty accurate for Luke Cage.
Yes.
I think I've shown you this one before. I did a Bruce Lee and Shang-Chi's outfit.
Oh man, that is so cool, dude. I
So
love
he's got the comic accurate outfit. But yeah,
I got that Marvel Legends Shang-Chi and a couple years ago because again, I once in a while I'll break my rules. Like they did Union Jack, I had to have him. They did Marvel, I had to have once in a while. So there's Shang-Chi, right? And it's a good figure. You know what the jackasses didn't put on him? The gi, his top. He was shirtless.
Yeah.
I bought it anyway, and I had this older Shang-Chi from like the old KB Toys one where he came with a fabric gi thing, and I took it off of that and put it on him.
There you go.
Silly, but
hey, you know
why
what?
would you do that though? Why they're idiots?
That's Hasbro. The thing. That's the thing about customizing. When you can make stuff like this, and like I have a very firm rule that if anybody doesn't like your collection, you throw them out of your house. Yes. Because your collection is for you. You don't have to answer to anybody else or anything like that. Now I'm working on. I did a version of this before of a Union Jack figure, and I'm working on doing an updated version of it with the whole making him look sort of like the first Avenger Captain America thing, so he'll look in place with everything else. I did a Miss America. I've got my Namor. I think you saw on Twitter.
Oh wow.
Let me grab my Namor.
Really? Oh sure. You went to go grab a toy, folks, but yeah, I just man, these are so cool. Look at it. I love the building there. You got Spidey. Spidey figure's incredible. I see Doomcock in the background. I was right. I was telling by I see Doomcock back there.
Oh yeah. I've got. Oh, here you go. Here's somebody you'll like.
That is.
That's Mexican Iron Man.
That's oh my goodness, the great Mexican Iron Man. Not wearing his armor, of course, folks. So you didn't. And took me a second. I bet he loved that. Well,
oh yeah. Well, I got to send you one of the heads, because I did one before, but it didn't really look like him. So here's.
Oh, good lord, that's fantastic, dude.
Yeah. Now what I did with this is I took a Sam Worthington head sculpt from Terminator Salvation. I added a widow's peak and sculpted him some pointed ears, and made a mold of it and recast it. Dude, so I got to do some ankle wings, and I got to put his his wristbands on there. But that'll be my Namor. A lot better than what you were going to get from there. And I wanted to stand in for the original Human Torch, so I took this Ryan Gosling head, and I just put him on that outfit. So it's
that's incredible.
Instead of just doing a regular jumpsuit kind of thing, I added a little stripes and stuff, and broke up the red a little bit. Nice. And then another Golden Age character from Marvel was Miss America.
Oh my.
So I took an Angelina Jolie head sculpt and made the outfit comic accurate, and bought a pair of boots, and there's Miss America.
That's fantastic, dude. This is great.
I plan on doing Quicksilver. Union Jack and Spitfire. Nice. Union Jack and Spitfire. I'm going to do. I bought a third-party Bucky figure. Oh wow! And it's Sebastian Stan. The head sculpt was really bad. My daughter looked at it, and my son and my daughter were standing there looking at it and they're saying I can't place the face. And my daughter turns around and says, he looks like the baby from Ice Age with the
wow.
And yeah, it was so it was really bad. So I got another head sculpt and I repainted. But what I'm gonna do is I'll show them to you. It's
cool. That is so cool. The Invaders. So let's see. He's got the whole group plus a couple of the other ones. Man, I love Union Jack.
I redid the heads.
Wow.
Recast the head sculpt from and sculpted his hair on from Winter Soldier. The paint job makes him look a little bit more like Ben Affleck, so I got to touch that up. But the outfit's pretty good. But what I want to do is I'm going to make the pants red and
Okay.
so it's going to look just like it's like if you look at him from a distance, it'll be like, oh well, yeah, that's Bucky's outfit. So I'll put a red shirt on underneath him, so it's like the collar's poking out underneath it, and it'll look just like like a realistic version of the comic outfit, but it won't be a pure red. It'll be more like an orangey red, but like something that could have been like you used for a military outfit, but it'll have the look of it.
Nice.
But yeah, that's because I really want an Invaders.
You have the
team.
Invaders. Of course, it's too much of a challenge probably to do Toro, but hey, look here.
Hanging out with Gary Ambrosia, he's taught me a lot about all this stuff with like casting and things like that, and with a lot. And Mark Smith, Mark S47, you've probably seen him in some of the chats and stuff around.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of electronic work, and in fact, when I did Mike's Mexican Iron Man figure, I was taking it apart so I could spray paint all the pieces and mask everything out so it would look good. But when I popped it off, I knocked out one of the wires. So he's done so I sent him this thing down so he could repair the wire on it, do the soldering job on it. And then he sent me back the base with all the little voice activated things, like you press Mike's buttons and it has his different phrases. Like he's got like 12 of these things on there. You hit it, it's like, oh, and he has all of his little expressions on it. So that's
I like how he says that.
So what I think I might do is
Yep.
see if I can't take apart a body and cast it in clear resin with some red dye in the make it a translucent red body and sculpt some of the flames on it and fill the things up with LEDs, so he'll actually look like he's glowing. So
that'd be fantastic.
And I think what I'll do for a
small Mego would be good for Toro, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, they sell. One of the cool things that I like about 6 scale is that you can get these guys, and like this, there's a considerable height difference, so they're not all going to be exactly the same on the shelf. So like somebody could be taller, somebody can be shorter. So you can pick up like some shorter bodies and stuff. But Asmus is coming out with Stranger Things, the kids figures. So usually what happens when they sell them, like somebody will buy these things and they break them apart and they sell them as loose pieces. So I'll probably pick up one of the bodies then, and I might make a mold of that and do the same kind of thing for Toro with the flame effect. But I'll probably use the Alex Ross like version of like the way it looks, so you really can't kind of obscures the face and whatnot.
Sure.
And with some flames going around and stuff like that. But that's a dream. That's a dream project. That's
amazing.
If I can make it happen. Yeah, they were so much fun. It was
oh man.
Back when you could have a clear-cut good guy and a clear-cut bad guy. There wasn't any mystery. There wasn't any like gray areas. It was just like, here's the bad guy, go get him.
They can make you. They can make you. There was a time they could make you really. You could think you're supposed to look. A superhero is nothing without a good villain, and you could love that villain as someone because that villain in the sense that that's a great baddie for this hero. But now they try to learn the line too much with these villains.
Yeah,
it's a problem. So yeah, I love Invaders, man. Again, they were originally the all winners, and then Roy Thomas just when he brought them back in the 70s, made them the Invaders, and man, I don't know. Now, of course, they're ruined. In at least MCU with what they're doing with Namor, dude, is just.
Oh, I just ignore garbage. It. Like, one of the good things about being a comic book fan is that we've all had our favorite titles, and they've had a run where the story was bad, the writing it didn't really fit, and stuff like that, and you could just ignore it. You could just like put that out of your head. Like one of my favorite runs of Captain America was back in the 70s, early 80s, where he's, Brubaker basically retold the story. It was Dr. Faustus and but he had the National Force and whatnot, and the Captain America from the 1950s, which should be canon because he should be fighting communists. But anyway, that's another story.
Exactly. Commie Smasher.
But they had an issue there, a couple of issues where he teamed up with Daredevil. And it was like, I can't wait to have like a Daredevil figure next to my Captain America, just because I love that appearance together and stuff like that. That was like, I like more of the street level stuff. I don't, I like the cosmic stuff as well. Like somebody made they were taking pre-orders for this 6-scale Silver Surfer figure. It's covered like it's in a body like this. It's seamless. Now these bodies are friggin' this body itself was like $95. It's like, but it's got this thing is heavy. It's weighs about like 1.5 pounds. It's got a solid stainless steel skeleton inside of it, and it's got a silicone body over top. Watch the articulation that you can do with this thing.
Oh my goodness.
So you can bend this thing in any conceivable position and it holds. It's like, you could stand him on one leg. It's like, he's, I mean, because of the weight of him, you need to stand. And with him, of course, when I get the wings on his feet, he'll be flying, looking like Namor. Either that or I'm going to make him a trident. But
cool. That's so good, man. I love that. That's fantastic.
I would love to be able to try and figure out a way to do Mr. Fantastic, but I'll probably have to do interchangeable parts where have an arm stretching and the torso stretching and stuff. So it'll probably be more like a sculpture than an actual 6-scale figure, but it'll look cool. Things like that. Yeah. If they make Thing correctly, I'll probably buy one of them. I pick and choose about if all I want is a good representation of my classic characters. If they give it to me, I'll think about buying it. But another thing is these third-party companies that are coming along. they're doing all these things that Hot Toys would never do, because they wouldn't sell enough to make it profitable. Let me see if I can get him down here.
Hello there, Tony Stark. Good to see you.
But he's not coming in. I have this Green Goblin figure, and he looks comic accurate. But he's Hot Toys would never make him because he's not part of a property. But these third-party companies are making these really, really high-quality figures for half the price of Hot Toys. It's still expensive, but I picked up. I have a Kingpin figure with Vincent D'Onofrio's likeness coming in this week, and I think it was $183.
Oh my goodness.
Well, considering your average Hot Toys figure right now is going for $260.
Oh, okay.
So and he comes with 2 suits. One's bloodied, one's not, and he comes with 2 head sculpt. One's bloodied up and one's not. So you can swap them out however you want, display whichever one you want, or you could probably pick up 2 bodies and make 2 figures, whatever.
Wow.
But it's for that price, it's actually pretty cheap. I also have a Baron Zemo figure coming. It's a third party. There's a third party doing the Vulture with Michael Keaton's Vulture. Looks amazing. I didn't go for that because it was outrageously expensive and it's massive. I mean, the wingspan on it's like this, and I just have nowhere to hang it up or display it. So it didn't make much sense for me to get that. There's a Sandman figure that it looks just like Thomas Hayden Church. And he's got some attachments you can put over his arm, so it looks like he's got sand fists and stuff like that.
Nice.
That's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, Hot Toys is this. The stuff they do is really amazing. They have a Tobey Maguire figure, Spider-Man coming out here, and part of the backdrop is they have the Sandman sand face being real massive in the background.
Oh,
so it's expensive, but it's an expensive hobby. But I look at it this way: I got very picky because when Captain America's figures first started coming out, I kind of bought all of them, and then I realized I can't keep doing this because I'm just going to get a definitive version. So I went with the Age of Ultron figure until they came out with the Endgame figure that actually had the chainmail look to us. Shit, now I got to buy that one. So, but that's it as far as like what I'm buying with that. Everything else I'm making is pretty much like if there's an obscure character that I really liked, like if I liked the Moon Knight series a little bit better, I probably would have bought the figure. It looks pretty cool. The Man Thing figure will be a definite for me because like I like the supernatural stuff. But other than that, I really don't see. I probably will get a Thor figure at some point, just for my brother who passed away. Like it was his favorite, and I'd like to have one just to sort of like an homage to him.
Sure.
But it's got to be one that I think he would like to. So I passed on the Love and Thunder one, and because I didn't like the blue, it didn't look. The one that I thought was really cool was in the outfit in the very beginning of Ragnarok, where he's fighting Surtur. They call it the Road War Thor. It looked really good, but I didn't get that one. But I'll probably pick up one of them. Other than that, I really don't see myself getting too many more. Like I've got no interest in anything that they have on the docket as far as like that I would like enough to buy an action figure of. But you do what you can.
No, I got you there. I had to have that. Of course, I've never gotten any of those figures, but I had to get that last Marvel Legends Captain America one, that anniversary one. That's a beautiful figure for it's not to compare to these fancy ones, but for Marvel Legends, it's incredible.
Marvel Legends does great work. They do nice work. They do. Like I like this scale because I can customize it. I can't sew that small. My eyes aren't what they used to be. I can't see that well to like do all that stuff. I got these magnifying glasses that I use for 90% of everything I do. But I like this because I can make it into whatever I want. And I'm not limited into like, just what they can put out. So for me, I like this scale because it is so versatile and there is so many options out there for you. Like if people want to get into the hobby, I have a friend of mine. He loves Hawkeye. Hawkeye's his favorite character, but he was like, he looked at the prices of it. He was like, I can't afford that. And like what I did was,
I see that D-Bud. D-Bud saying, I want a Peace Pot. Yeah. Yes. Get on that, Andy. Make a Peace Pot Pete figure.
Not Trapster.
Nah, we like the original.
So
there you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
The colors don't look quite the same on the camera, but he's pretty accurate as far as like,
nice. He's got a costume.
I look at it like, it wouldn't necessarily be. I wouldn't have cast Jeremy Renner as.
No, me
Barton
either.
Because
but still, that's a great figure, though. I like him, but he's not my Clint Barton.
Exactly. Yeah, and he was enjoyable to watch on screen. But I mean, Clint Barton is like he's in your face. He's cocky. He's arrogant. He's like that was Big Hawkeye. Time. That was here's a guy who had no superpowers and a bow and arrow, and he would go up against Ultron. I mean, that guy had balls of steel. I mean,
And the Hulk, and that was a great scene. Did you watch Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes? Show I loved.
Yeah,
that scene where he confronts the Hulk, and he's like right in his face. He doesn't care.
Yep.
I love him, and he's such a different character. Renner's great, but I have a super chat from your Muslim uncle. Thank you so much, your Muslim uncle. You're too kind. He says for $1.99. He says Andy Masterson and Retro Blasting show with Clobby. Well, I don't know if you're familiar with my good buddies at Retro Blasting, but that will be a hell of a show. Michael's a great YouTuber, and I'm sure, like I said, that would be great. I think I'm gonna have Michael next week, or we got something coming up soon. Michael and I will be. We did one a couple weeks back, and we just talked, and we got all kind of. We're gonna do a couple more before this year ends. He's a busy man, but.
Yeah, I mean, I love the when I was a kid, I didn't I was allergic to everything. I didn't have a whole lot of friends, so like I lived with my toys, my action figures and Legos, my comic book collection, and sitting there drawing things. And so having this stuff now, it's kind of like and being able to like I really love when I first got into doing like the action figures, like. I started with my son when he was playing with like the Star Wars figures, and I made one of him. And then like my daughter was like, she wanted one because I made one of her, and I would do some of the different characters that probably wouldn't get made, like some of the aliens and stuff. And I got better as time went on. And my brother Ed, he got diagnosed with cancer, and so I was like, I'm going to start working on his action figure. And so he had throat cancer, and so went in, did the surgery, put on chemo, cancer free, and like everything was good. And meanwhile, I'm making this figure for him. Then he gets like the word cancer came back, so he put him on 16 weeks of chemo, and he's feeling kind of down. So like I call him up, I'm like, hey, you gonna be home? He's like, yeah, why? He's like, I got something for you. Yeah, I'll be here. And I could hear in his voice, like, I mean, we lived together for 30 years. Like we talked every day. He was my best friend. We had all, weightlifting, martial arts, comic books, movies, all these things. We would reenact like lines from Benny Hill and Monty Python and like all these movies we had memorized. And so I go over to his house, and his chair is facing away from the door, and he kind of leans over because didn't have the mobility in his neck. He's like, he leans back. He's like, what do you got for me? And I hand him this box, and he opens it up, and I can't see his face. And he turns around, and he had the biggest grin on his face. And he said to me, this might be the coolest thing I've ever got. And so he put it up on the entertainment center. So everybody that walked in the house had to go check out his action figure.
That's fantastic, dude.
Even when he passed away, like, his wife had the action figure up there next to his urn, when we did the whole thing going by. So when I make these things like for people and stuff like that, it gives me a little bit of a callback to that feeling that I got on that day. So it's like not quite as good, but it gives me a little bit of an uplift that I get to make somebody's day like that. So that's why I like to send these things out to people, and do something that they would really like, and
that's fantastic.
It makes me feel
dude.
good. Yeah, so
I love hearing about stuff like that, man. That is incredible. Did he you talk about he loved Thor? Did he love the movie? Because you said he didn't see Ragnarok, but
he
so
saw
did he movie Thor, comic Thor. Was he more partial to, or what was
comic Thor was his thing? He did not care for. I felt kind of bad because my favorite was Captain America, and I got some really good movies, and he got like less than great Thor versions of it, and so he really didn't care for it too much, but he would have liked how powerful Thor was in Ragnarok, but he wouldn't have liked the
in Infinity War. He was really powerful. That was great. It's a shame they kept ruining. They kept kind of belittling Thor. Hello there, Stephen Ransom. But so he would at least have liked that part. So,
and it's this way. It's what can you do? It's like nowadays it's like something comes out and you just hope they don't ruin it too badly. And but I have like virtually no faith in them with anything anymore. It's it's better off just to that's why like my Submariner, like
right there. Exactly.
I can do a better job than they can, just because the source materials, I can't sculpt as good as the Hot Toys guys, but it's good enough for my shelf, and it's like it looks accurate. So
looks fantastic, dude. Well, man, it's some amazing work, dude. I've kept you here.
Thank you.
For almost 3 hours, brother. It's very late where you are, but I cannot thank you enough, dude. This has been amazing just talking comics, because I know everybody always first thing they do to you is, man, toys this and toy that. So I thought we'd talk comics a little bit before that, because I don't know if you get a chance to talk comics much these days, but
not much. It's like you and Nick are pretty much the only ones I've talked comic books with lately. And but I mean, I love all this stuff. It's like it's the best part of the childhood. It's like and if you can bring it to life a little bit, you can, and that's what I like about figures and stuff like that, rather than statues. When my kids were little, I tried as good as I could to get down and play like I used to, but it's gone. It's not there anymore, and you can't really get into it. But you give them, that's why you give them the toys so they can play with it, and you envy their imagination. But I can do like diorama bases and things and set things up and change poses and whatnot. So I can have a different statue and stuff like that. It's like I don't have to have the same one all the time. So that's it.
That's amazing stuff. That's a greatness, man. I really appreciate it. So now I know you've done, by the way, you've done, of course, one you got Mexican Iron Man there. You've done Doomcock, of course. Didn't you do one for Gary and Az? Or have you done those?
I got like
cool.
over there.
Listen, I'm only wanting to make you have to pull them out if you don't have. There's no big.
Oh, they're right here. Here's Eric July.
You sent them to them, right? Oh, Eric July. So they have copies of these, and I take
it. There's Ryan's.
Ryan.
So,
oh wow.
There's Az.
Az. There you go.
Okay. There's Comics Division.
Oh, cool. Comics. I went on this show not too long ago. Very nice fellow.
There's Gary's.
There's Gary. Yay, Gary. Hail Gary. Hail the
Jeremy.
FNT crew. There's Jeremy. Oh, there you go. Wow, you did the whole damn crew, man.
Here you go. There's Canadian Bear, Drunk 3PO.
Drunk 3PO.
It is Canadian Bear outfit.
Oh, with his bear outfit. Yeah, the bear outfit. Oh, a good bloke there, that Drunk 3PO. They're all that's great. I love their shows. All those guys are great, and that's fantastic.
It was funny. Like when I first started doing this, like I did Doomcock's figure because he was my gateway into this whole world. I was sitting around like I thought YouTube was basically for like music videos and stuff like that and how-to stuff. And I had something on autoplay and Doomcock pops on there and he starts talking about Star Wars and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. So I started listening to a couple of his videos and I found a live stream and it was him and Gary doing the Inquisition.
Oh yeah, good old Inquisition.
And so I was like, and that they got to a point where they started talking about like their love of action figures. And I was like, oh, I could do that. And so that's what I made here.
Oh, hail Doomcock. There we go.
And this one was tough. Like I had no idea how I was going to do it. Then I got the Cricut machine. And I found these little rivets and I put them in there. I sculpted the head. And I sent that and
that's badass.
I mean, thank you. I had no idea how this stuff worked. So I just mailed it off and I just put my name on the return address. And I'm at the gym and I'm working out and I hear him talk about like, we're going to unveil the Doomcock action figure. I'm like, oh, cool. He got it. Like, so I hear him talking about it. And he didn't realize I made the bad robot from Abrams. Like, but he's all beat up with like knuckle imprints on him and stuff.
Great.
But I put lights inside of him but I used like the electronic candle lights. So it flickers. So it looks like when you turn it on, it looks like he's broken, like, and the lights are flickering. So I sent him a super chat in that the bad robot lights up. And next thing you know, he's like, are you on Twitter? So I made a Twitter account. He's my first follower on Twitter. And he brought me on the show and I was on the show with him for like an hour and a half. And it's like just asking about how I did this and stuff. And like, and then I, and the plan was that I sent Gary's out like a week later, like a couple days later. And I figured he would get his. Well, Gary doesn't check his PO box for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
And I had, when I sent Az his figure, he had worn the hot dog outfit. So I made him a hot dog outfit to go with it. And
oh, wow.
So Gary finally got to his and opened his. And the next day, Az got his. So it was just like, but I do kind of like, silly things with these. When I heard about Drunk 3PO stuff, like all the charity work he did, I was like, you know what? The universe wants him to have something like as a thank you for being a good guy. And
he just loves charity work. Very good fellow.
Yeah. So I did. I dressed him up as the Mandalorian, but with C-3PO's armor. Like, but the coolest thing about it was I made him a little Gontroid that's a beer cooler.
Oh wow!
You open it up and there's a beer cooler. And
nice.
Then I was listening to when they had that whole Snyder thing where he kind of dicked over to the Geeks and Gamers guys.
Right.
I was like listening to Anna and she was talking about what all the stuff that Jeremy did for her when her sister passed away.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I got to make something for this guy, because like he, you know, you go and you do a GoFundMe for this girl, and you know, that's a good guy. So I made his figure. And
Nice.
then I did Cardinal Sin, Mexican
Cardi.
Iron Man.
We love Cardi.
Oh yeah, Gil's such a great guy.
Gil's our good buddy.
And Mexican Iron Man, he hired me to do the Iron Man figure, but I was like, I knew it was going to take a while to get these bodies, because he wanted me to repaint the Hot Toys, and they're like $380 for like. I'm like, dude, why don't you get the knockoff figure for $90? And he's like, that's a better idea. Let's do 3 of them. So I made up. He's got one. He sent one to Doomcock, and he's sending one to another YouTube guy, which I don't know if I can't spoil the surprise. I don't know if he sent it yet. And then I had all these requests for Ryan, and I because of my work schedule, I don't get a chance to really listen to Friday Night Tights or anything. So I had very little interaction with Ryan. Then I found out like he's in the Navy. My brother Jim spent 28 years in the Navy. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, well, that's cool. Like, you know, so we had a couple conversations and stuff like that. It's like, all right, what kind of theme would you like? So I made him this whole, like, you know, basically Darth Revan from Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic outfit.
Yes.
And they always break his balls about like playing Mario Kart and eating pizza. So I made a little droid that was a pizza oven with like, that looked just like Mario. He's painted up like Mario, and you opened up the door and he had little pizzas inside there. And then I did Eric July's.
Cool. I
did My Nerdy Home, Stephanie. I did Chrissy Mayer. I'm sure, have you probably seen the Hunter Biden figure I did for her?
Yeah. You told me about that. Yeah. I didn't see it, but you told me about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like it's a little notorious. But yeah, I think that's it so far of what I've gotten done.
Cool,
so I have other ones in the process of being done. So hopefully, but you know, these guys have all, like, you know, it's, you know, they're mouthpieces for how a lot of people feel. And if, you know, guys like Doomcock and Nerdrotic and all these Geeks and Gamers guys weren't doing what they were doing, nothing's going to change. So, you know, you need people out there that are that can be on those front lines and take the slings and arrows. Because I mean, look, say what you want about these people. I know there are people that like them and people that don't like them, but they take a lot of abuse for our benefit.
Do. Yes,
they get attacked ruthlessly. You know, they got to worry about things that, like, you know, my wife was saying, like, when I started doing some of this, like, when I was sending some of these figures out to people, she's like, you know, why are you doing that? Like, you know, I mean, what if somebody shows up to her house? I'm like, well, I'm already a public figure. You know, my business is attached to my house with my name on it. You know, so it's pretty hard for me to hide, like, who I am. It's just so, but you know, these people take a lot of abuse.
They sure do.
From people. And, you know, if I can make something like this that makes them happy. Oh, I did Gary's wife. I made one for her because she's a big Buffy fan.
Yeah, she is.
I'm trying to think of anybody else. But anyway, I got other people that I have on the line and stuff like that I'm working through, and trying to get, like, I like to customize things for people that would be something they really like, that's kind of specific to them. So, but that's what I do, and that's I'm having fun with it.
It's amazing stuff, dude. Fantastic work, and we all love to see it, man. Thanks for being here, bro. I cannot thank you enough. This is amazing. I know everyone enjoyed seeing the toys and just talking some comics and stuff, man. I love, as you know, that's what I like to do, and just geeking around. So we just geek out here. We have a good geek time. What else you got? Anything you want to plug or anything like that before we get out of here? I know you're.
I just got my channels, the Laboratory of Mayhem, and I'm trying to put tutorials up there to teach people how to do a lot of this stuff on their own. like your shelf is like, and most importantly, I try to encourage people that to not feel powerless. There, every single thing in your life you can improve. And even if everything in your life sucks, if like you're just having a bad batch of things going on, and you can go home and you can pick up an action figure, even one that you made or put together, and it can make you feel better for 5 minutes, that 5 minutes is priceless. Because I've been in those places. I've been, at, shit, by the time I was 23 years old, both my parents were dead.
Damn.
Me and my brother were taking care of my 83-year-old grandmother, that wasn't easy. I was trying to go to college full time, trying to work full time. And, I've been through the ringer with stuff, and I know what it's like when you can just pick something up that makes you feel happy for a little bit. So if I can show people, like, my friend Tom, he's like, I can't afford that. Like, here, you can afford buying this head for $20. Do this here. I can make an outfit for you. Boom, you got a Hawkeye figure. Of course, I kind of addicted him to things. So now he's making more money. But anyway, stuff like that. When you can show somebody how you can empower them, or show them how to empower themselves to do something positive and take control of things, you don't need, I don't need to accept what Marvel's going to put out. If I want a figure, I can make one, or I can hire somebody to make one, or I can or in this case, like, look, you got these people who are like, this is the new fan. This is the new pop culture. This stuff here. This is what people want on their shelf. It's like I've had so many people ask me for, if they can buy these. Like, and I'll be down in Orlando where I'll be talking to these guys about this.
Oh, you're going to the big meetup?
Yeah.
You're going to the meetup? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Me and my son are going down there, and I'm going to bring some of these things down there so people can actually see them in hand. And because
fantastic.
I won't do something of somebody unless they give me the okay, because that's just wrong. But these guys got a lot of fans who like spend, a lot of money on them and stuff like that. And if they, want a shelf where they can have like their, Doomcock up there, or like a the Friday Night Tights stage set up there, and if I can, I would never be able to keep up with the demand. But if I can trickle a few out there and make some people happy, and help these guys out with their fan base, then I'm willing to try and do that. So, that's what I'm looking
hell
for.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, that's fantastic. It's amazing work. It's amazing stuff that you do, and I hope you'll come back and hang again with us, man.
Hey, if time allows,
I know you're busy a lot, but
I would love to. It's this has been a great time. Like I said, it's so rare that I get a chance to. I try to check out as many of your streams as I can, because I just love talking.
Thanks, man.
I love to, like, I try and get them when I get done work, get back to the gym. Like, I'm at the gym, I'll listen to your streams, because it's like, I'm not that big of a Star Trek guy. I watched the original series, Next Generation, and about half of DS9.
Yeah.
But I like hearing about people that really have a passion for things. So when you're on there, and like you and Nick, and you're doing the reviews and whatnot, I mean, to me, that's reliving the books for me. So you do a great service for me. So thank you.
Well, thanks, man. Well, one of these days we'll get you on. I'll get you on. We'll review a comic. How about that? Like Nick and I do.
Yeah.
Like we'll pick some kind of random or issue of Captain America that you love. One of those, maybe one of the Byrne ones. That Byrne run was really good. The Stern Byrne one. Remember when he ran for president? Remember that? Or something like that. We could.
I really love the Baron Blood one where he goes
yeah.
That was tremendous.
We'll pick one of those, like just what the hell, like because just to do a review of it, because those are fun. You just show the whole, as you see, show the whole comic, and we just talk about the story. I enjoy doing that so much. Whether it's
that would be awesome.
So fantastic, dude.
Great.
Well, thanks, man. Thank you all for being here with us tonight. I really appreciate it. It's very late where Andy is there, but everyone. Of course, there's the link. The link to your channel is in the chat. Thank you for putting that up, D-Bud. Appreciate it. Please tell everyone, if you have not, please go there and sub. And thank you all. Thanks to the wrenches. Thank you for everybody. Hungry Boy, D-Bud, Eric K, Chris Persia, who popped in. Everybody who was here with us tonight. We'll shout you all out tomorrow night. Remember, tomorrow night, Raquel and I will be here. We'll unfortunately won't have our great chief engineer with us, but we'll persevere. It'll be the two of us there. And then Friday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Comic Shop on Nick's channel, reviewing 5 Marvel monster comics from the 70s. Well, superhero with a few superheroes thrown in. And Saturday night, Star Trek will be, of course, same Trek time, same Clubby channel, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time with 40 more episodes of Deep Space Nine. So until then, everybody, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Have a fantastic rest of your evening.
I just love Clobberin time.